3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
And welcome back to the podcast brought to you by OMG Racing, Lucky Day Competitions and JC Truck and Trailer Hire. And I can confirm, and yet again, by the way, for the audio listeners, this is like we like taking the piss out of, we have Grace in the studio, which is good. So I'm looking at her for the checklist, but she has informed me that JCT Truck and Trailer Hire have come back on for another year of Medlem and Bedlam? I can't even get my words
Doesn't
out.
matter, they're back on board, so we're well happy.
Exactly, mate. You know what I mean? They've signed the line, happy days. But honestly, we can't do it without sponsors. And this episode is brought to you by Mongrel Boots.
They're a fifth generation family owned company making boots in Australia since 1930. Worn on farms and building sites down under for almost a century. So Mongrel Boots know all about hard work, and these Aussie boots are now available in the UK. I'm going to go check them out. So find them online in selected retailers and head to mongrelboots.co.uk or Big Boots. And I had to read that properly. bigboots.co.uk, because that could get you in trouble for more information.
Thank you so much for coming on board on that side. So, the pressure, it's already been dropped. We have Paul Iddon, the biological father of Christian Iddon.
I know, I mean, it must be amazing being Christian Iddon's dad. But to be on the podcast is also great. It's a bit weird interviewing your own dad, but I'm actually quite excited for this one, because I think most of the stories are half no, but when you've got family, you kind of don't listen, do you? So I'm actually looking forward to being in a room that I can't escape from. So I will listen to the stories. Yeah,
Grace is very much on the door on this one side of things, stop you running away. But like we were just discussing on the way down, Paul, it's interesting because obviously my dad's raced, and you know you've obviously got a hell of a career that we're going to discuss about, which I can't wait. But because you're in that moment, you just see your dad going racing. So on the way down, we're sitting in the van going, well, I haven't had to actually do a lot of homework here, Christian. What can you tell us about your dad? And he goes, well, I don't really know that much.
And most of the stuff that Christian does know about me is not accurate, because I did listen to a podcast that he did somewhere else, and it was a lot of things weren't right. So.
Oh, come on then, give us an example.
I can't remember, but there was all sorts of things. I think it might have been a BSB one or something.
It's probably on the lap record you told me you had that wasn't true.
No, it wasn't lap record, it was something else. But there's a few things, inaccuracies, but I should have done my homework first, but I haven't. Yeah.
But as a quick breakdown, you've done GPs, TT riding, BSBs, you're the original 21. Because obviously you kindly let us use your toilet on the way up, and it's a proper racer's home when you climb up the stairs, all the photos, all the memories, and obviously massive trophies. I'm not blowing smoke up your arse. This is a Matra one, and the GPs, and it's fantastic. The history that's in that small line, walking into it, you must have loads of trophies hidden over the house over the years.
No, I took most of my trophies away, to be honest. When we, I kept the bigger ones and the ones that were metal, but we had a flat in Canterbury when I was doing GPs that was supplied by a sponsor of mine, David Brown Motorcycles, and we just kept carrying all these plastic trophies around everywhere. So when we moved from there and moved back up north, we just chucked them all away.
Bloody
Simple as that. Yeah, I'm not a very sentimental person.
I like it. I do like it. But I'll tell you what, let's jump in the thick of it. Let's go straight from the beginning. So obviously we know why Christian got into it, to obviously beat you. Hold on, that's my first question actually. Have you beaten your dad on track before?
Have we ever raced together?
Oh. Yeah, we all did a
your dad remembers
a mini supermoto race.
He must have won, because otherwise he wouldn't have remembered.
No, I don't think. No, we did a mini bike supermoto race up at Preston Docks.
Yeah, I do remember
with Charlie, Christian's brother, as well. So as a family, we've all competed in the same motorcycle race, which was quite good.
So who won that race? Or
should we just say Charlie? So there's
no, you're shy bag.
I can't remember, to be honest. I don't think any of us won it. I would imagine Christian must have been before me. The only time, but Christian's never beat me on karting at all, ever.
Oh, I got that in.
That's not true. The last time we went, you ended up stuck on top of the tyre wall.
Where
I definitely beat you then.
Yeah, that was down at Cheddar Gorge when we were doing a mountain bike event.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were a bit competitive in the karts.
So here's a question. Were you more attracted to four wheels, or was it always two wheels?
No, it's always been two wheels karts, but we've just been messing about. Christian has never beat me at arm wrestling.
What is this? This is.
I tell you what, he is.
Shall we try? Shall we go again?
Yes.
No, we haven't arm wrestled for a while, but
I'm
I'm actually retired from arm wrestling now.
I tell you what, your dad. I tell you what, you are full of shit, man. I haven't done my homework. He is literally sat up last night going,
What for
"I've beaten him out."
Oh no, hang on, running upstairs. He's never been
shut
running
up.
upstairs.
This is the most stupid thing, right? So we were at a World Supermoto event somewhere, right? And we were on the beach somewhere in
some
Italy
caves
or
or something.
somewhere, and there was a massive like cliff thing with steps, and he said, "I'll race to the top." But he just got in the way. It was only one person wide, so he
It's
never
called
beat
tac-
me. He
it's called
just
tactics,
walked up the
Christian.
stairs in front of me. That was his win. It's such an empty win. But yes, he beat me up the stairs, but only because he was too big to get past.
I just use tactics, that's all.
I tell you what, like, so I can clearly see it's always been a competitive family. Then,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I would say
Dick,
that.
you both looked down while you answered that. Like, it's got violent. You can tell between you. Right, you're grounded. You only did that because you won. I beat you and stuff like.
I've never been grounded, to be fair.
No, I don't think you have, actually, no. No.
But
But you can't get grounded living out here. This is, by the way, this is a beautiful part of the world. This mind, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Grounding you, like you can't go anywhere anyway.
that is true.
Yeah,
You can see now living here why I've got no friends because there are no friends to have. There's the peacocks, and
Yeah.
that is pretty much it.
The one-
We're basically living in a wood, or this is where I used to live, and my lack of friendship. What I used to do is because there's nobody here, I would make a track with my BMX bike. Because I've got no friends, I would set off from the back door, start the stopwatch, do a lap of my BMX track, which went around some puddles and did whatever, and then I'd come back and stop my own stopwatch. And that is what my youth was my own lap times.
No wonder you're so
On my
athletically.
own.
Like no one.
Christian did spend all his time on two wheels, really. Yeah, just messing about round here on his push bike, really.
So yeah,
It's a great place to grow up.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely no wonder you're such a fitness
We're
freak.
lucky.
The whole family are so like athletically ability because you've got to go so far. But let's go back to it. So that was like your start in BMXing around the family woods here. But what about yours? What got you into bikes?
I got banned from driving. I was banned by the time I was
No point.
18, I think. Yeah, through speeding, totting up, which was 3 endorsements at the time. It wasn't points, it was an endorsement. So I got banned from speeding. I thought, well, I'm never going to keep my licence because I used to be a hooligan on the road. So I just thought I'll go racing. I had a Honda CB 750 that I had on the road, and while I was banned, I found a brand new Rickman rolling chassis that they were building at the time to make Honda and Kawasaki road bikes handle. And they were eligible for production racing. And I built this bike up out of this new chassis, which I got for £400 or something, and started racing. Just went to Darley Moor Club Racing, rode my bike there, took my number plates off, took the bag of tools off the tank, and finished fourth in my first race. So, and I thought, oh, this is easy. And it was wet.
And so you're on road tyres? Or was everyone on road tyres?
Everyone's on road tyres, yeah.
Because it's proddy racing.
It's proddy
Because
racing,
back then, proddy racing was actual proddy racing, wasn't it? Not like stock as is now.
Yeah, no, it was proddy racing, yeah. Street legal bikes, but they weren't, you could do certain things to the bikes. You could actually tune the bikes on the rules you had back in the day and things like that. But basically it had to be a street bike with road tyres on. So, which were, then the tyre of the time were Dunlop TT 100s because they'd been around the TT course at 100 mile an hour apparently. So, and they didn't last very long. I can remember that. So, but yeah, that's how I started. Just my own thing. I just thought I'm going racing. There was a couple of friends, local lads who were racing. I just thought I'd go racing. That was it.
I must ask the dreaded question already. What year was that? You should never ask anyone the year.
Well, I was late starting road racing. I did my started racing when I was 19, and that would be 1979, I think.
Class.
No, it must be earlier than that.
No, 1969.
Yeah.
Hang on,
The
57.
summer, the Brian Adams year. The summer of 69.
Yeah, 69.
Must be
1969.
69. 'Cause otherwise you're only... Yeah.
69, yeah, sorry, yeah. 1969.
And before going to that race, had you ever, you'd just ridden on the road, you hadn't done track days or...
No track days, no off-road, no motocross, no nothing.
Any ambition to do that? It would literally just no.
Yeah, no, because I got into motorcycling because I was away on holiday. My my dad used to be, or was a bus driver, and he took some school kids down south to Devon somewhere to some holiday camp. I went with him. And I was bored, and I picked up a Motorcycle News, and there was actually a sidecar outfit there with again a Honda CB750 engine in it with 4 exhaust ports. Like, what, that 4 exhaust pipe silencers, megas, things. And I thought, that looks good, and that's how I got into motorbikes. So it's all completely self-driven. My parents weren't into motorcycle. I had no support whatsoever. It was completely self-driven. So, and that's how my career was, really.
So, like, you know, the attitude towards bikes, we've talked about it for years on the pod, and what was your parents' attitude towards you getting on motorcycles?
They didn't really have any.
That's good.
They had, I'd say they weren't into it. They had no support, and it was like...
But they weren't going down on bikes back.
No, they weren't really down on bikes. They didn't discourage me because I just kind of did... I was a bit sort of feral, really, as a kid.
What you're trying to say is you were the perfect child. You know what I mean? Your parents forgot the how to try.
Basically, my mother died when I was 12. And my grandparents brought me up, but not in the house where I was living. That was over the road. So I spent a lot of time. My dad was working a lot, so I would just did whatever I wanted to do. Which
were you the estate hooligan then?
No, not really. I could have been.
Not really. You see,
yeah. Did bikes get you out of it?
The stories are ramping up here. It's like, not really. Could have been. I had potential. In fact, I was the baddest bat on the
No. The way, before I got into motorbikes, there was potential there to go the wrong way with the people I was hanging about with, without a doubt. But I must have had just enough nous to think, no, I'm not going to go down that route. You know, I mean, I used to have at school. There used to be mates of mine who used to go nick cars and come and pick you up in them and things like that. I've never nicked a car, but that's what they used to do. So I always thought, no, not really. You know, I was always just on the peripherals of it, thinking, no, I'm not getting involved in that.
Oh, I can see a story there. I could just say, I nearly put my hand through the window. I really wanted that car.
No, I've never been tempted to do anything like that.
Yeah.
But the temptation was certainly there, and I was certainly exposed to it. But I don't know, something in myself just thought I don't want to go that way. Then I got involved with motorcycles. Really just I just wanted a motorbike, so I bought a field bike. It was an old Villiers or something, and used to just mess about with that, pull it apart, build it back up, make it go, ride around the backfield on it. That's all I used to do, really, until I was old enough to ride on the road.
But like everything, you know, you always need a bit of guidance, be it from your parents or a friend. Did you have a friend who knew about bikes, you know, when you start stripping bikes down, or was it just, you had no one?
No, completely self-driven.
You in a Haynes manual, or was it even worse?
Yeah, worse than that. Yeah.
Worse than that, yes.
Yeah. I remember something was wrong with the gearbox on the Villiers, which used to bolt off the back of it. And I was trying to fix it, and I couldn't, so I lobbed it up the backyard. Literally.
This is how to fix it.
Literally, and came back at night, and then got up in the morning, and then I actually put it back together again then, and it worked, so.
Picking great
so it does work.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and used to just ride on the road when I was 14 and,
That's class.
Yeah, just...
that is class.
Yeah.
So 18, let's talk about that first race meeting. Was it like, did you have, when you got on the bike, you're riding on the road. What were your ambitions? Did you have any ambitions?
No, I just rode on the road, going quick. But then you used to go to Darley Moor and watch racing at Darley Moor. Then coming back from there, there was like a guy with the bike of the time was a Laverda Jota, and there's a local lad who had a Jota. And I was on this CB750 and we rode back. I thought, it's really good to ride back with that lad. He's really cool. He's got a Jota. And they just couldn't stay. And they were like, Jesus Christ. They said, you need to race. You just, I was always fast on the road. Probably too fast. And that was sort of commented all the time. Anyone I went out with, it was like, Jesus, we just can't stay with you. The side stand was not, the centre stand was on the ground, pipes were on the ground. And so I was lucky that I also got through that without any major incidents, really.
And from that first race, you finished fourth in your first race, which I guess was just a Darley club race.
It was just a Darley heat. I finished fourth in the first race. I think you had 2 heats and 2 finals. I think I did a production race and an open race or something like that because I was on a production bike and it was eligible for both classes. I think I finished fourth in the production heat, fifth in the open class final heat or whatever it was. Then I think I finished fourth, fifth, and then 6th and 7th in the finals. So I got 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in my first race. And it was a wet race. It was a wet meeting. I just thought, this is easy. So...
confident young man, really, I can see.
Yeah. So the next race, I crashed and I-sided coming out of the first corner at Darley Ball. And thought, well, okay, it's perhaps not that. And that was dry. It was a dry race. So I just came out, whap, I-sided, and that was like, oh, right, okay. So that was a big learning curve. And I can't remember what part of the day I actually high-sided, whether it would, and I can't remember any results of that day. I just knew I crashed in my second meeting.
You mean you can't remember because of the high side?
No, I just can't. I just can't remember. I didn't knock myself out or anything.
I wasn't sure if you meant like you hit your head.
No. I mean, I might have hit my head, I think, but
I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah, so. But I say I used to go home and I think somebody took my bike out. Oh, did I even ride it home? I think
you definitely hit your head.
You see, I tell you what, he's just highlighted every racer's flaw. You know when they're like, well, I got knocked out. How can you remember? That's a proper knockout, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? He's lost 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because...
That's a proper knock.
So 8 years later, I'd had a great career.
I won a few races.
I don't know what happened.
That's it.
Yeah, but I can't remember. I can't remember what went on that day, but not because I was knocked out. I can't really remember what went on the rest of that season. I was kind of learning the craft, I think, really.
Yeah.
I was there or thereabouts. Never won a race in my first season, but I was kind of more the sharp end than the blunt end sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and was it all pretty much at Darley, or did you start?
It was just Darley. Yeah, it was just Darley, I think. I think I might have gone... I think it was just Darley that first season.
Because we're only 40 minutes from Darley here.
I was about to say, geography-wise, you're not that far, but still 40-minute ride.
At the time, so I was 20 minutes away. So, I remember before I raced at Darley, I went to a track day at, well, it wasn't called track days then, it was practicing at Cadwell. Just to have a go around the track before I did my first race. And the most surprising thing was how fast the corners came up at you. Sort of thing, and how much abuse you gave the bike, sort of straight away. But yeah, my first time on a track was just shit. These corners come at you fast, and I ran on at the end of the straight at Cadwell a couple of times and that until I got it sort of dialed in. But it all seemed quite an easy thing to do, to be honest, or a natural thing to do, should I say.
Here's a question. You're talking about like Prix racing. Let's talk about budget then. You know what I mean? 19, you're at the front and you thought, oh God, hold on. You know what I mean? What were you doing for a living at this point?
I was
still living in the woods.
No. I wasn't living in the woods. I was living in Buxton. I was an apprentice quarry fitter at ICI Quarry. So I think I was earning something like £23 a week or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. But an entry was probably £15 a week, maybe. You know, but you just spent every single penny.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 lads who was racing locally, once I started racing, a friend of mine started. I don't know if he started the same year. I think he might have started a year later. And so one of the local racers, he was called Dave Ashton, he took my friend Nigel Wilson on under his wing. And there's another lad called Mick Capper. And he sort of took me on under his wing. He said, I'll take your bike about. You don't have to race, ride it to the track anywhere. I'll take your bike about. So he sort of mentored me and Dave Ashton mentored my friend Nigel Wilson. So, and we just, we did more club racing the following year. The following year I bought what did I get then? I had a start off on the Rickman. I bought a TZ3. The following year I thought, all right, I can do this road racing. I'm going to buy a racing bike. So I bought a TZ350.
Was the Rickman a 2-stroke?
No, the Rickman was I had a CB750 Honda.
Yes, yeah.
And the Rickman was a rolling chassis that you put all the components from your street bike onto the Rickman, which was a racing chassis, basically.
So was that...
But it was street legal and it was still eligible for production racing. So,
right.
that's why I thought, well, that's the ideal tool to start racing on.
And was that a 4-stroke or a 2-stroke?
4-stroke, yeah, 4-cylinder 4-stroke 750.
So you've gone, right, I need a proper race bike. Let's get into the 2-strokes.
Yeah, getting 2-stroke, but TZ 350. Again, no idea to run it. It was probably the most worn out TZ 350 you've ever.
Like every other TZ in the country at this point.
Yeah, but again, mediocre success on it. I don't know. I wouldn't have won a race on it. Crashed. I remember crashing it at Measton at Cadwell. Going up into Charlie's, entrance to Charlie's one, just lost the front, end over end. So
that is fast.
Left the fairing off, put a number plate on the front, and raced that as it was. And it was some special.
You could imagine that, Nat. Imagine you doing that.
Scrutinised back then, or?
And I think I did quite well in that race. It was some special race at Cadwell. It wasn't on the long circuit; it was on the short circuit.
Where's the shot? So
and I think I ended up finishing something like third in that race, which was a bit surprising because I didn't have a fairing on it. But again, I can't really remember the actual results of early day racing.
But that's the best thing about it, though. You don't need to remember the results. No, like it's the enjoyment, the fact that you can remember going, I binned it, put a number plate on it and went racing. You just can't. That rawness is 100%. Points for safety, 100% safety reasons now, but that's the smile on your face is just brilliant.
Well, I'm just thinking how I did it, on a TZ 350. I had no idea what I was doing with it, and it never seized up, I must say, so it must have probably been as rich.
You jammy bag.
I don't know if I ever bloody jetted it, to be honest.
He's every racer's worst nightmare. Every team manager's worst nightmare. He's not lifted a spanner on that in 4 years, and he turns up and gets on the podium. He has
got no fairings,
no nothing. Doesn't even have a helmet. He just has a cigarette.
But I did pick up my first sponsor that year as well. A local hairdresser in Buxton, Stylistic Design, and also a local insurance agent, H&W Christie Insurance. They sponsored me for about 200 quid or 300 quid or something like that each.
And how much did that cover? Because obviously the numbers are a bit different. I know Dom asked about budget, but
I've no idea. I've no idea. All you know is you spent every single penny you had to go racing, but that wasn't a lot because you weren't earning very much.
I was about to say, when you were earning, what was that, £26 a week? Or
£23 a week.
£23 a week, and someone turns up with 200 quid, you're thinking, actually, there's a month's riding there.
Yeah.
In that theory, but obviously the money's gone up by buying a TZ, you know what I mean? And I can't believe you didn't even, you lift a spanner on the thing. That's incredible.
I probably put a set of rings in it.
There we are.
Something ridiculous like it was just, but as I say, it never seized up. So I ended up selling that for 300 quid.
How much did you buy it for? 300
quid. I can't remember. It would have been more than 300 quid, but I had it probably 1,200 quid. Oh, this sticks to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah, because that's a big loss.
That's a big lot of money.
Yeah, but it was just rubbish. You couldn't really sell them at the time.
Because everyone had them,
Yeah, and I think I sold it for 300 quid.
In
fact, I think Nigel Wilson bought it off for 300 quid. I think he did.
Has he still got it?
No. And he, I'd have to check that. I think he did. Anyway, then the following year, I bought a Laverda SFC 750, which was a purpose-built endurance racer by Laverda, 750 twin. Which are now worth, and I think I paid 1,200 quid for that from a bike shop in Cardiff. And that I went racing like because I wanted a Joe, I couldn't afford one. Saw this thing, I thought, well, that'll do, and that gave me some success, even though it was slow. It was handled well, and
So at this point, 18, 19, you've gone from your first bike, TZ 350. Where were you? Like, what age were you at this point when you've bought?
Well, I would have been 19, 20 on the TZ, 21 on the Laverda.
There you are.
Yeah, and then results started coming on that as well. So,
speaking of which, you are the original number 21, like I said in the intro there. So what made you pick number 21?
It looked nice.
Deep.
You two are related, aren't you? You don't know who was available, right?
Eddie Lawson used to ride number 21 on superbikes, AMA superbikes, sit up and beg superbikes, and I just thought that number looks good. But I didn't choose a number until later on in my career. Until it's probably when I was on Suzuki, the first year at Suzuki, and I started riding 500s, and it's like, well, you need a number. And And I think that's when I thought, and most of the low numbers were taken, obviously Barry Sheene had number 7, blah, blah, blah. So I sort of went down the list, got into the teens, thought, well, they don't look very good. But I can always remember Lawson with 21 on his AMA Superbike. It was just a nice shaped number, because the way the AMA used to have them, they had like elaborate numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm like, I'll have 21. Because it was kind of the first decent number available.
Yes.
As a low number in the programme. Simple as that. So there's nothing major.
Did you know that story, Christian?
No, not really. Never. Obviously, everyone asks me, why do I have 21? It's just because of my dad. And then, why did my dad have it? Because it looked cool.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's kind of
the sum of it. I do
the
like
sum of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go back to when you were 21. You bought this new bike from Cardiff, and in your own words, there you said the results are coming. So impress me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Just again, local club races, but start to branch out a little bit. Cadwell's, Aintree we used to go to, which was good track. And you used to always get the club race at Aintree was like a national. You used to get people like Bob Smith, Foggy's dad, George Fogarty used to ride there. Stan Wood used to ride there. So it used to be a real quality field at Aintree, because they used to pay prize money.
So was this your first big hitter list, if you know what I mean? So you've gone from like Darley Moore, you know what I mean, the club scene kind of thing. So was this your first, like, there are some big names?
Aintree probably was, at the time. It was the best club to go, and it was probably the best track. And as I say, they used to pay prize money. And the trophies used to get, because it used to be a Grand Prix car racing track, they used to give out solid silver trophies. At a club race. So you'd win a solid silver trophy. You'd win a replica, a shield, and 15 quid in prize money. And that's probably why some of the names went there.
Yeah.
Because 15 quid would probably be worth, I don't know now. So it wasn't a massive amount of money, but it paid. So they probably treated it as practice, but at least they could do something with it, and earn something from it. But what happened on the Laverda, that year was the Avon Roadrunner Production Series, which is the first time production racing got promoted, really. And I think it was like 3/4 of the way through the season, and there was one of these production series at Scarborough. I'd never ridden Scarborough before, so I went there with Mick Capper, who he'd had some relative success at the Manx, and he used to go to Scarborough's he used to use Yamaha TZ 250 and 350s. He said, why don't you go and do Scarborough's road race? Yeah, okay, then. And we went there. And I finished second in the Avon Roadrunner class. So that was my first major result. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, because they had different classes, they had like 500, 750, 1,000 and this, that, and the other.
Here's a question, as far as attitude towards road racing, was there such, like now, be blunt, there's a massive segregation. Obviously in the Formula One times, you had to do these certain races. Like, was the attitude of just like, it's just another track? Or was it like, oh shit, I'm off to do Oliver's Mount, which is a road race?
No, it was just another track. Road racing was part of racing, I think. And I think road racing was what everybody alluded to, because the TT was the main thing. So once you started racing, it wasn't like you want to go do Grand Prix, you wanted to go and do the TT or do the roads. So I think road racing was very popular because that's what you wanted to do, is go road racing. I didn't sort of have an ambition. I've never been a roads fanatic, or certainly I've never been a TT fanatic, but it was just it was just what you did. So there was no segregation, you just did it. You didn't think about it being dangerous, and it was a road like Oliver's Mount. It was just another track.
It'd be interesting to see, in your opinion, when did that change? The attitude of the change.
Because obviously at the time you were doing in TTF1, it was which is the predecessor to World Superbike. I know we've jumped a bit now, but it was the championship was short circuits and the roads, so it was all part of it. And
TTF1 was just for the roads initially. So you only ran TTF1 World Championship was the TT, the Ulster, and Villarreal in Portugal. I think that's accurate. I'm not 100% sure. There was just 3 road races which gave you a world championship, and then it developed and they were all sort of prototype bikes. But then they sort of pushed the 4-stroke side of racing, I think, and the TT F1 then started to become more of an overall championship, so they took it into short circuits.
Right.
But I would say, going back to your question, when did it start to change? I think it started to change because obviously the TT was a Grand Prix class. It started to change when the Grand Prix riders started to deem it dangerous. People like Sheene, probably. Sheene actually did the TT. Barry Sheene did the TT on something like a 125 Suzuki or something. But then he started being vocal about that being in the championship, because he probably went to the TT and realised it takes a lot of learning, maybe. Some people learn it quicker than others. But I think it was probably the likes of Sheene and Roberts. Certainly the Americans wanted to go to the TT, but I'm not sure whether they were on the scene when they started to move away from the TT.
Right.
But it was basically Grand Prix riders who didn't want the TT to be included or in the World Championship. But at that time they still had Nürburgring. Yes. Which is the next best thing to ride around the TT anyway.
So have you raced at the Nürburgring?
No. Oh. No, I never raced the Nürburgring road circuit, because that kind of finished by the time I'd got into international racing.
But it was part of the championship?
No, not F1, no. It was part of the Grand Prix, the Grand Prix. So 500 Grand Prix, or, the Continental Circus, it used to be called at the time, with the likes of Sheene and Roberts and everybody. Assen was a complete road track. That used to be about 6 miles long.
Yes,
and they shortened it. Brno, Czechoslovakia, Brno, that was a road circuit.
Spa would have been quite...
Spa was a road circuit, at the time.
And Barry Sheene still got the fastest lap, isn't it 130? There's still the
fastest... Yeah, so they still did a lot of road. They still did a lot of road racing in the Grand Prix, but they all boycotted, or I don't know whether they actually boycotted the Isle of Man, or they managed to convince everybody that the Isle of Man shouldn't be part of the... So I think the Isle of Man was the first one to go. It was basically when they all started to think, shit, we need to make this a bit safer. Which you would, it's natural progression, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think, to answer your question, that's when it started, the split started to change.
Right.
But as a club racer, that wouldn't even, that doesn't really come into you.
Wouldn't cross your mind.
No.
So what, sorry, just I'm just dead interested. Like, what year would that have been roughly? 70s, 80s? Or?
You know what? I have no idea. It would be, must have been 70s. Mid 70s, I would hazard a guess that they stopped doing Grand Prix at the TT.
So that was the beginning. So you were actually in, there's always a golden era of every timeline, but that is truly the golden era. As far as when you got into racing, it was just racing.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, the goal for me, obviously you're club racing, but the people, your heroes were Agostini. Really. Yeah. No, that was possibly before I even started racing. I remember going, because they used to have non-championship internationals at the end of the season. They used to have the Mallory Park Race of the Year. In fact, it was before I started racing, going back to my golden era. It was when Agostini was on the MVs, Phil Reed was on the MVs. And when they came to England, they were you'd just have, the mechanics would be pushing around the paddock, and there'd just be a group of people following them around. Because the bike was just such a magnet, the MV was just the thing. When they fired it up, it was just unbelievable, and to actually watch them race was amazing.
It's pretty insane to think that them going to Mallory, Agostini and those, it's a bit like having Marquez and the now factory Ducati turning up to Mallory to do the race of the year.
Well, the race of the year, it was called the post-TT race. It was called the post-TT race. So they all went to Mallory Park on the way back from the Isle of Man.
Right.
Because they used to get paid. All the international. I got into international road racing at the wrong time. It was at the end of everyone used to get paid start money to go to like Brands Hatch at the end of the year, or I think even in Grand Prix they probably got, the top riders probably got start money. So it was the end of start money, and there wasn't radio prize money. So, and it also, like for something jumping further ahead again, the first year of the World Superbike Championship was all geared for me as a rider. I would have got paid 30 grand. So that was my budget. So, and that's how they tempted everybody to do World Superbike. So every single rider, not team, was paid 30 grand.
Which is quite a lot back in the day.
That was my budget to run my bike.
Was that a comfortable budget?
No, hang on. You need to. I need to
go for it.
I need to go a bit further ahead on this.
Go.
So we all got to Donington Park for the first round of the World Superbikes, and on the Thursday it was announced that that's not happening anymore. That was it. There wasn't enough money, so it was all a big con. I think. Yeah, it was all a big con to get everybody into it.
And how did you take it?
Well, it's like, shit, well, we'll just have to carry on as we are doing, So, but it was a big part of your budget to, it was a big part of my budget. It was my budget. So, but I guess we're jumping ahead now, really, to how we used to go racing at the time. There was no teams in the UK, really, apart from your people like Sheene and everything. But even Sheene, he would have just been in his own entity. He didn't sort of have his team. He put his team around him.
When you see the pictures from back in the day, it's more a rider with his van and caravan even.
Class,
and then his mechanics. Is that how racing was? Was it?
Right, but in sort of, when I was 21, so sort of 1972-ish, the top Grand Prix riders would have been Sheene, probably Roberts. So, maybe not Roberts at that time, but certainly Sheene. And Sheene used to go around with a transit van with a caravan on the back with Shell oil stickers on it, and that's what they used to do. That's how they used to do the Grand Prix.
And a bike that's like this unobtainable type.
But they'd be on factory bikes.
That's what
they'd
I mean.
Be on proper factory trick things, like the 125s that have an 18-speed gearbox and,
that travelled around in a tranny van with a caravan on the back.
Yeah.
That's just proper though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is proper.
Yeah.
It can't get any better.
Yeah, I think that says. But going back now, I think as I say, the split for the roads was when the Grand Prix riders thought we need to make this a bit safer. So they started to cut back on all the roads and try and make some of the tracks safer, which they could, and others had to fall by the wayside. But there's probably quite a few in the early sort of 70s. I bet there was quite a high percentage of Grand Prix on the roads. Must have been.
And as much as there was riders that wanted to not do the roads, was there a percentage of riders that wanted the championship to stay with roads as well as?
There must have been, there must have been, but they probably weren't the top lads.
Yeah.
So you never heard of those, really.
So we were talking about Oliver's Mount, and then you got your second place, and at this point, this is before the segregation, shall we say? You know what I mean? You were off to do everything at this point.
Yeah.
So you got your first success. Now, at this point, did it go from, now, Paul, let's stop messing about here. You've got your first podium at a big race. At what point can you pinpoint you stopped messing about?
That was the following year.
Straight away. No, there we are. There you are. There's no poetry there. Dom, I can tell you now.
There was a definite point in my life. Which, so the following year, it was like I got better at production racing. So I bought a written off CB. I bought a Crash CB 900. Honda CB 900, 900cc 4-cylinder 4-stroke to go Prix racing on. Again, off a friend of mine that happened to be on finance that he hadn't told me, so I had to hide this bike as well because the finance people were trying to repossess it off me. But he'd fallen off it, I think. He'd fallen off and crashed it, so I got it quite cheap. The tank was stowed in, so we fixed that. I rode it to south of France with Christian's uncle on holiday before I raced it the following year. And then went racing on that. And that gave me even more success. I probably started winning races or podium at Darley Moor and places like that. Darley Moor has always been my local track, so the championship I was going after. But it just wasn't quite quick enough. I think it was when GS 1000s came out and the 900 wasn't really a match for that. So I cheated and put a big ball kit on it. Which then made it competitive. And I think I probably won races at Darley Moor.
If you can't.
Well, this is the crack. I cheated. I love it.
How do you get to where you are today?
Cheated.
Well,
everybody cheated. To remain competitive, you either got a GS 1000, and spent another $3,000, or you put a Motorbike big ball kit on your.
How much that cost you, the big ball?
Oh, it wouldn't be very much.
That's class.
And did you do it yourself as well?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Did he fucking out the garden as well?
No, I didn't.
I'll get that back tomorrow. It'll fit like a glove.
Yeah, no, my mechanical skills had improved by being set.
I was wondering.
Yeah. So no, I would have built it into myself, and then I would have lapped the valves in and this, that, and the other. And in fact, the Moro, I didn't know at the time, the Morowaki dealer at the time was a guy called Guy Sandel, who ended up being my mechanic when I was at Suzuki. That's another story. But I didn't realise at the time. Bought this Morowaki thing, kept it all off, and raised it, and I was more competitive on it. But what did happen then, I was working, I'd left, once I finished my apprenticeship as a fitter at ICI, I left and worked at Mind Research, a government thing for a year or so. Then I got a job at a place called Cambion Electronics. I had my own little workshop in part of the development side of Cambion, which was a cushy little job, but there wasn't much work. And my boss of that department was on holiday, so I was bored. So I took my cylinder head in to what I call gas flow it and do all the valves and blah, blah. Probably at the same time I was putting the big bulkhead on. And the personnel manager called me, sacked me. And the moment when the words came out of his mouth saying you're sacked, I just thought at that point, no one is ever going to say that to me ever again, because all I wanted to do was smack him. I didn't, but it was close. So I just thought, I'll stuff this, I'm going to go racing and mess about. So I just had I had about 4 or 5 part-time jobs locally, claiming dough, and just went racing.
You're my hero.
Yeah, that was it.
I can't believe you were mad at getting sacked for doing your own mechanic.
You know, the actual
at work.
I'm the victim.
How dare he sack me?
Yeah, no, it was
I'm trying to cheat to go racing.
But it was the point of the, well, maybe the humiliation of being sacked. Just thought, no one's ever going to say that to me again. So I don't want anybody being in charge of me or anything like that.
God, man.
And that was the thing. I just thought, well,
What were your 4 jobs? I'm just curious, the balance of sort of...
I had a mechanics job at a local car mechanics place. I had a bit of a car servicing job at a local car accessory place, who I got that job because they were sponsoring me on the Honda. They gave me a little Honda Active van. So I got a sponsor with a van, but the bike would only fit in diagonally.
Class.
The bike would only fit in diagonally, so we had to take everything out to sleep in it. And I also used to sleep while I was driving, because Christian's mum at the time, so we're going to, driving to a club race. I'd get tired. So I just said, look, you steer, I'd need to sleep. So I used to just go to sleep and she'd steer and then wake me up and I'd just keep my foot flat on the floor. It wouldn't go very fast.
I was about to say, is this calculated?
So we get on the motorway.
I feel like we're wasting the interview. Let's get your mum on. She can pilot steer a car at the motorway at 110 miles an hour without waking you up.
It's like, I'm tired, I need a kip. And it'd only be 5 or 10 minutes. So I just... So I used to nod off her. She'd steer.
We've missed the junction by 10 miles.
No, she'd
I feel fresh.
And that's what we used to do. So that was the second job. Then what else did I do? Probably a bit of van driver.
I was really hoping you were going to say hairdressers.
Anything where I could earn a bit of money, really. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to be saying hairdressers, solely because one of your sponsors is a hairdresser. Come on, get your cell in. I can just see you doing a perm. I've got to go. I've got to be at Brands Hatch in the morning. So
yeah. Maybe a bit of bike servicing for people, and just general anything that paid you any money, really.
So at this point, you fully committed. You've been sacked for working on your own engines, got a part-time job, off I go.
Yeah.
So when we talked about when you first got a bike and your ambitions, so you went, right, at that point, you're going, I just want to race bikes.
Yeah.
Was there a goal at this point?
No, still no goal.
I like that.
Yeah, just very, very short-sighted, very short. Because at the end of the day, you don't know how good you are. So there was no self-belief or anything like that. I just did it because I was doing it.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed doing it. I wasn't... And the fact that you were getting more competitive... there was a goal. It was to win races, club races.
Yeah.
So, no, there was a goal. It was to get better and to win races, but there wasn't a goal to make it a career, because I still didn't think, I was going to make a career out of it. I never thought I could make a career out of it. I just wanted to go... I wanted to just do as good as I could, so that I might just put all my efforts into this and just earn a little bit of money. And, that gave me the time to, for instance, then the following year, I don't think it was on the Honda. I think the following year, I don't know if I won the Darley Championship on that Honda, but I got a sponsor then. There was a lad called Andy Blackshaw. Oh, we were doing Marlborough Clubman's, the first year of the Marlborough Clubman's event. I did a few of those on the Honda. I might have even done a full season of those on the Honda. And there was a lad called Andy Blackshaw who was winning races on this GS 1000, but it was tuned to the hilt, absolutely tuned to the hilt. And how I used to sort of make targets. Andy Blackshaw was a target. You know, I thought, right, I need to beat him. So I used to make targets on people, and I used to hate them. You know, I just want to kill you.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
And I remember it was at Mallory Park, and I know I'd knocked him off at Aintree. That's what I'd done on, yeah. On the Honda.
He probably hated you as well then.
Yeah. No, I knocked him off. End of the straight at Aintree. You could really leave the brake. It was a good place to watch because you could see people who were good on brakes because you could see it from the pits and what have you. I outbroke him and knocked him off at the end of the straight. He won the race. So
I'm not sure that counts as outbreaking someone too much.
Probably
using them as a berm is not.
I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to your next race. You know what I mean? Like round one, like that, just going. Well, the old man did it.
Yeah, so I knocked Andy Blackshaw off. The following week we were at Mallory Park, and we were parked opposite each other. We'd been out practicing, and I'm like glaring at each other and this, that, and the other. And it was a hot day anyway. We came in from practice. Andy peeled his leathers off, and he was just oosh. He was absolutely ripped, muscle man. He was bodybuilding. I'm like, you know. So like. Shrunk back up. Bloody hell, better. It's like, Jesus Christ. So I thought, no, I'm not going to punch him. But we ended up talking at, it was a Cadwell Park meeting, and he was quite posh as well, Andy. Quite well off, quite posh. Ended up talking to him, and he was a bit strange as well. And he said, I'm packing it. He used to win a lot of the race at the time, and he said, I'm going to pack him. All right. So why? He said, I just don't enjoy it. So why'd you do it then? And I remember this guy. He said, why do I do it? Why do I do it? Because I'm an adrenaline junkie. And I'm like, he's weird. But long story short, he used to drink 10,000 raw eggs and blood and things like that to get all the protein in. And he was a very strange lad, but we became very good friends. So he was packing in. So I said, well, will you have a word with your sponsor? It was a guy called Fred Preston, who was a bike dealer, a Suzuki dealer from Widnes. So I said, will you put a word in for me? So he got him to sponsor me. And then that year, it was when the GSX 1100 came out. So we did full year of Marlborough Clubman's, sponsored by this guy. He paid the entries and he paid for most of the stuff on the bike, really.
Brilliant.
I had to get myself there. So we said, right, we'll target the Marlborough Clubman's Championship, which we did. We won that. So, and just about every other production race going, really. So we kind of just cleared up in that on that season. But then that sort of put me on the map, really, because I was winning so many races. It was when MCM brought out the street bike series then, which was absolutely stock bikes. Just if you had to leave the indicator on, just put number plates on, tape your lights out, and then just race them out of the showroom.
Class.
They were at international events. But you had all, the Honda team put a team in, Suzuki put a team in, and it was kind of gaining momentum.
It was a big stage at this point, yeah.
Yeah, MCN just were putting a lot of money behind it, a lot of publicity, so it attracted all the top lads. I think Haslam, Gardner, Joey were on Hondas, and that's when they bought the CB 1100F, I think it was, with a big fair in red and white, which was like almost a first time you'd made a race bike for the road, really. That was probably the start. They were very expensive. They were at international races. We were doing the Marlborough Clubman's, and I was at a meeting at Snetterton, just a club race at Snetterton, and I think I'd broke the lap record there the day before, which was a big wind-up because you had a big southern northern divide. You know, you club racing.
It's still there, son.
So that was quite good to get that, because there was a big wind up with the people who were down there. It was a really good
crack.
Good crack. But then somebody said, the street bike race at Mallory tomorrow is national permit. So we're all the proddy lads were, oh, shit. So we all got late entries to go up. So we went from Stetson on the Saturday and went up to do the street bike race on the Sunday, which is televised live as late entries. But all our bikes under Marlborough Clubman's rules, you could tune them. Basically, you could do what you want with them. So
yes,
my bike wasn't as tuned as most people's, but it was put together well, and they were quick. The GSX 1100s. It's the first time you sort of got on a proddy bike and TZ 350s you'd just pass them, you know, like they were stood still. So you probably had around about 100, and certainly over 100 horsepower, 110 horsepower. At the time, you know, and an RG500 would only be 100.
Yes.
So they wouldn't pass an RG500, but you kind of just about hang on to them. But TZ350, you know, first time I passed a TZ3, I'm like, shit, these are fast, these bikes. You know?
The big smile on your face, get in.
But my bike was tuned. It wasn't legal for street bike, but we're all entering anyway. Put all the indicators back on, made it look standard, and the standard bars you had to have, I think. I used to put straight bars on mine and all sorts of bits of things. So footrest might have had to be standard. So I put it all back to standard looking. But I thought, well, it's not standard. So I made a conscious effort to leave the airbox off. I would put the airbox back on because you had to have your airbox off. You had 2 airboxes on a GSX 1100. And they'd go better if you took the first one off, basically, you know, when they were tuned. So I thought, I need to put this on. I thought, no, I won't. I'll leave that off, because if ever I get collared, or if I get a result, I get stripped, then they'll just find that and I don't have to strip the engine down.
Oh, you actually wanted to get caught?
I didn't want to get caught. I wanted them to find that rather than have the engine stripped.
Yeah.
He's a clever man. He's calculated, Paul. I respect that.
So, but again, I didn't know where I was going to be. But in hindsight, it was a good move, because we ended up set off for the race. I led the race for quite a while. I think it was Jack Bernicle, or it might have even been Murray Walker doing the commentary.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what number I say, I was number 12. Number 12 is leading the race, and they're obviously in the back. And I think, number 12 sort of thing, because I wasn't in the programme. No one had no idea where I was. There was an Australian over there called Mick Cole who was on, I think he might have been on a Suzuki or Honda. And we ended up having a bit of we were going down the straight into Gerrard's, like I was giving him a bit of a nudge and he was nudging me back. Nothing violent. We were just side by side, just like, and I think I finished 3rd in the race or something like that.
Brilliant.
I didn't win it. I led it for a long time. I don't even know if I did podium on it or not, but I led it. And obviously it's like, then they found out, this is Paul Iddon, where's he come from, blah, blah, blah. So all the race, the talk was all about me. After the race, my bike had to go to scrutineering. Strip your bike down. Okay, took the seat off. Oh, you can't. I said, I know. You're banned. You're excluded. Yeah, that's fine. But then what happened? So there was a big thing in
Well, that went together perfectly. Right?
Just don't strip the engine.
There was a big thing in MCN, this new unknown rider, MCN Street Bike, big blah, 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 who refused to have his engine stripped and was excluded. I fucking didn't do that, blah, 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 blah. So I went into the local payphone up in Harpy or where I was living.
Chucking money in the box very angrily. Like, ching.
Right, I want to speak to the editor of Motorcycle News. I was the scrutineers who'd made this statement saying I refused to have it stripped. So I got onto the blah, blah, this is what happened, blah, I'm having that, blah. So the story went on for quite some time, 2 or 3 sort of issues of MCN backwards and forth. I didn't do this, I did that, blah, 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 blah. And a couple of weeks later, I had to go and get some parts. I had a gearbox problem on the bike. And
had you thrown it up the back alley again?
No. It was jumping out of gear. One of the dogs was like, I think I'd crashed it or I'd done something. I'd written it off somewhere and we had to rebuild it. But the gearbox, there was something not right. And we needed this part urgently to get the bike back together for, I think it was an Aintree race. So Fred Preston organised for me to actually go and pick it up from Suzuki in Crawley. And I actually rode Andy Blackshaw's last year's production bike down, his GSS 1000, down to Crawley to pick this part up. While I went in reception, I'm picking this part up, yeah. And I said, while I'm here, can I speak to Maurice Knight, who was the managing director of Suzuki? Why? I said, well, I'm Paul Iddon, and I did this race last week, blah, 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 and I want 5 minutes of his time. Well, I don't know whether we can do that sort of thing, but in the end, she says, okay, you've got 5 minutes of his time. So I went in the office and said, right, I'm Paul Iddon. I did the superbike race, the street bike race last week. Just thought I'd introduce you to myself, blah, 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 blah. You're running a team next year. You need to consider me as a rider. Thanks very much. Bye.
What a man.
Yeah, and that got me a job for the following year. So,
did you ever get, from the other side of that coin, did you ever ask him years later and just go, wait, what did you make of me walking in? No, you know what I mean? The other side of that conversation. Do you reckon he just went home that night, poured a glass of port and went, that kid's got balls?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine what he's like on a bike. Have you ever...
no, I didn't, because Maurice Knight wasn't the managing director the following year. He went on to Pastures New, and a guy called Dennis Rowan took over.
Mm.
And that year they decided the street bike series sort of went from strength to strength. Suzuki decided they were going to put a proper full team in there. And they made a massive team. So they took on Keith Ewan to do Grand Prix, John Newbold, Mick Grant, and Roger Marshall.
Bloody hell.
To do British stuff and roads. Then two young lads, me and a lad called Mark Bowden, to do the street bikes. And there was a big, the team was the sort of front cover of Motorcycle Weekly at the time, and the big, publicity to all the shows and everything. And we were taken on to do the street bike sort of series. The problem with Suzuki and the street bike series is they didn't do it properly. Production racing was a lot bigger in South Africa and Australia than it was in the UK. So they made special, it was the Suzuki Katana at this time, and that was released. We had English bikes which had CV carbs on and more restrictive exhaust. And the Australian and South African bikes had slide carbs and different cams, and they were a better thing. And Suzuki, rather than import the bikes, they just bought the odd parts. I think they bought the carbs to put on or something like that, and they didn't work properly. So we went to the first round of the street bike series at Cadwell, and they weren't very competitive. So we did a couple of, plus all the other teams protested. We got protested it because we were running illegal bikes. We just bolted these carbs on.
Yeah.
And Suzuki sort of said, well, no, they are legal. They're official part of this. But I think we got excluded from Cadwell. So Suzuki said, "Oh, stuff this. We're withdrawing from the street bike series." With that, they said, right, there's a brand new RG500 for you down at Crawley. You need to come down, work on it. And we're venturing in the Jody Scheckter meeting at Donington. All right, then. Yeah. So that's what happened. Went down to Crawley with the Grand Prix team. So there's a new bike for me, sort of thing. Right, okay. What do I need to do? Oh, well, you just need to take the top end off and do this and do that and blah, 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 and just make sure and do this and we'll tell you what to do. So I did all that. Went to Donington to do this Jody Scheckter meeting. And again, all the Grand Prix lads were there. But I didn't have a mechanic. I was doing my own thing.
What sort of riders were there?
Everybody, all the factory riders, Court Ballington, Sheene, Roberts, everybody, every single...
The heavy hitters.
Is this the biggest event you would have entered at this time?
Oh, yeah. And I went out and I was about sort of top 12. And the sort of main mechanic at the time, a lad called Mick Smith, an Australian at Suzuki. So I said, what do you think of the bike? I said, it's all right. I said, it's a bit gutless. What do you mean it's a bit gutless? I said, it's just a bit gut coming out of the corner. I said, there's not much there really. He said, well, you see me going all right. I said, yeah, but it just feels gutless. It don't feel right. Well, you better take the top end off. We better have a look. This is after practice on a Saturday. I took the top end off and he goes, hold your hand out, slap my hand. He says, you need to take the back pistons off and put them in the opposite way around. I put all 4 pistons, because it's a square 4.
Yeah.
I put all 4 pistons in when I built it up at Crawley, the same way, facing the same direction, like you would. No, the back ones need to be the other way around. He goes, right, now put it back together and go and ride it. I was like, oh, it's good now. It's like, it's really good now. I don't know where I finished. It would have been in the top 10, I think, or mid-feet, for a lad who just jumped on an RG 500.
And you're totally just downplaying, 12. Like that.
I know.
You couldn't do that. You just could not do that now.
No, it might not have been 12, but I'd have to go back through my motor courses to find out. It was certainly, I certainly made them. The attitude then changed. Like, oh, this kid's all right. And I remember I was walking. Me and Mick Smith were walking somewhere at Donington behind the paddock, behind the pits there, behind the garages, and Mamela was coming the other way. And I think Mick must have worked for me. And he goes, "You need to watch out for my young mate here," sort of thing. But I also realised then that race. Then also, I realised that there wasn't any heroes. Mamela was just a normal person, and I was on the same level as him, and that was a good, and I sort of thought, shit, I can ride a motorbike. I really can ride a motorbike.
Is that because it's the first time you'd seen them, or the first time you'd seen them on track? You just had that realisation?
It's the first time I'd seen them, yeah. Yeah, first time I'd seen him, or first time, for to have a bloke telling Mamela that you better watch out from this kid because he's chomping at your heels, sort of thing, was like, obviously gave me a lot of confidence, really. And I think that's the thing then, is your self-belief. I think is to, shit, I can do this, or realising you can do this, which is self-belief, isn't it, I suppose so. So that was probably, that then changed things in terms of goals then. It was like, I can do this now, and I'm on a Grand Prix bike, and, the world's my oyster now, really.
At this point, have you been down the road, have you done all the roads at this point as well? Right,
so to get to that stage, what happened after? This was later. I'm trying to get everything in chronological order.
It's like what I find, like, because you've done the roads at this point. You've gone down Bray Hill, I'm assuming, at this point.
No.
Oh,
no,
right.
No. I hadn't done the TT. I'd done the only road I'd done up until this point on the RG 500 was Scarborough. Was Oliver's Mount.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because I thought at this point, hopping on the RGV, you're taking it the big boys. I thought, I don't want to do roads or anything like that.
Yeah.
But this is, all right.
But so I was then taken on, so I had a reasonable meeting at this Jody Schechter at Donington. And I think it was Dennis Rowan. I don't even know if Morris Knight was there then. Anyway, the managing director of Suzuki, whichever one it was, I think it was Dennis Rowan. He came into the garage. Oh, well, you're the new lad boy, all this. Yeah. And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm working on my bike." "What do you mean you're working on the bike?" I said, "Well, they've just given it me and I've got to ride it," sort of thing, in my broad Derbyshire accent. "Well, haven't you got a mechanic?" I'm like, "No." Right, okay, we need to put you in the team properly now. So he said, Class. Right. So he said, this lad is now in the team, get him a mechanic, and he's been, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. So he's now part of the team. So, and then I think we did the European Championship at Donington, the next race or something like that. And I think I'd got a bad start, or I'd qualified badly, and I was coming through the field, set the fastest lap. I think I was up into third and really gaining, but threw it away going down the old hairpin.
We can always remember the bumps, can't we? As racers, we can always remember that. And then I.
There was that one time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was doing British stuff with, again, media top 6, I would say. I don't think I won a race on the RG. I think Mallory Park, I was up there with the likes of Bob Smith, Graham Wood, Keith Ewan. I was with them. I was near the front. I didn't win, and I probably, again, maybe faded, maybe top 6, but I was actually giving them a run for the money. But that's the first year I'd done a road race. We went to the Ulster with the Heron Suzuki team on the RG. So,
up until this point in racing, you hadn't really committed to a championship. Was racing back then that you did chop and change more? Because obviously now you sort of go, right, I'm doing BSB or I'm doing whatever it is. Whereas it seems like back in the day, people did do a lot more I'm going to go do this club race, and then I'm going to go and do this one-off race.
In club racing, yeah, definitely. I mean, the first championship I committed to was the Marlborough one, because that was a recognised thing you could do. You know, again, it was, if you won the Marlborough Clubman's race, it gave you exposure. And, you know, if you won the sort of racing class, like the 500cc, people like Dave Dean, you know, he got a Mitsui Yamaha contract, and, you know, bikes were thrown at him. He was paid quite a bit of money, because when Marlborough were behind it, there was a lot of money involved.
Cigarette money.
And I think that is a journalist called Ted Macaulay, and he was the guy behind Halewood's comeback and this, that, and the other. So he was a big player.
Right.
And he had a lot of influence, so he could get people places, which did happen in, you know, it's the first series where you could get a club rider and put him straight into internationals, which is exactly what Dave Dean did. He's the main one who came out of the Marlborough thing. Me being a production rider, it got me into Suzuki, but it wasn't, it wasn't lucrative for me. You know, it wasn't paid.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. But he gave me, and I didn't want to. You know, I wasn't interested in getting paid. I just wanted my chance.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the lad called Mark Boughton, who was a proper fly boy Londoner, who he did get paid by Suzuki. He got paid about 30 grand. He basically went in and said, this lad's going to win the... He had a manager, basically.
Right.
Oh, I'm not a manager. Have you heard of the Shentons? Stan Shenton?
Can't say I have, no.
Stuart Shenton. Stuart Shenton's a Grand Prix crew chief for many years, who's worked with all the top lads.
Right.
But he comes from a family called the Shentons, who were a big London motorcycle dealer. And probably quite connected. They were in the East End, and they were quite a connected family as well.
Oh, your dad's got layers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, a bit, like you know what I mean? Like, I know the gangsters up north, and now I know the gangsters.
No, I didn't know any of them.
Yeah, but a gangster would say that, Paul. Just putting that out there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anyone.
Mark was sponsored by Shentons, and so they went in and said, right, this lad's going to win. You need to pay him this, blah 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 blah.
Yes.
So he was completely the opposite. Big flash London lad, you know. Suntan teeth, you know, he was
teeth, tits, and tan, BSB, hair gel.
And I was the opposite end of this scruffy northern. Oh, I'll ride your bike for no, mate. I just want, you know. But then when I found out,
hero, your dad.
when I found out that Mark was getting paid and I was getting fuck all, basically.
Yeah.
He was on an XR69 4-stroke. They put him on a 4-stroke. He was on a street bike, and he couldn't beat me on a street bike. So we went on an XR69. I was given a 500. And I thought, he's never going to beat me. I'm never going to let him beat me. And that was my motivation. So I got better results than Mark. But the end of that year is when... So everything went good with Suzuki. They were happy with me. You know, we were talking about, you know, continuing the following year, probably to do the European Championship. But that's when Sheene came back to Suzuki. So big bombshell. Larry Sheene came back to Suzuki, took all the budget. Everyone was
boo Sheene.
Yeah.
Let's just put that out there for the podcast.
Because you talk about, so the upcoming rider would get 30 grand, because obviously money back then was pretty good for the good riders. What sort of budget do you reckon Sheene would have taken out of Suzuki?
He's taken your wage, everyone else's
millions.
wage. No. You reckon?
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I would say even at that time, yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, there's a book. I'll give it you. There's the first. Let me get this right. Herbertson Suzuki. When I joined Herbertson Suzuki, there was a young PR lad called. I'm going to have to think. His name will come back to me now.
Yeah.
In a bit. He was a young PR lad. He was as green on PR as I was on riding 500s, but he was just taken on and done this, blah, blah, blah. It's annoying me now. And he's written a book. But the title of the book is Sheene, My Part in His Downfall,
right.
Which alienated a lot of people. And it's nothing about Sheene and my part in his downfall. All it was, and it's not a very big selling book, it's basically about his experiences with Suzuki. And one of his experiences with Suzuki was when, so he had Herbertson Suzuki, and they got a major sponsor for the Grand Prix team, HB Cigarettes. We're talking a lot of money. And it was the end of, it might have been the start of the year, it might have been the start of 81, so it might have been for the 81 season. or would that be 82, 81 season, when Virginio Ferrari, and it must have been Mamola. Oh, Mamola, it was Mamola. So they went out to they clinched Mamola and paid him an awful lot of money to ride the Grand Prix bikes. Ferrari was a bit different. He sort of talked his way into getting on the bike, but part of his payment was they came over to Heathrow. Ian Burgess, that's the guy.
There we are. It's back.
Ian Burgess, as a young lad, was told, you by the managing director of Suzuki, Dennis Rowan, and then there's Peter Agg, who's the even bigger boss of Suzuki. Right, you need to take this briefcase, go to this bank, and pick up £100,000 cash. Then you need to take that briefcase. You need to go to Heathrow Airport and meet Virginio Ferrari and his manager in the airport lounge. You give them this piece of paper. They sign the piece of paper. Once they give you that back, you hand them the £100,000 cash. And so I'll give you the book to read. Yeah, so that's what went on back in the day. So when Sheene came back, God knows how much. They paid Mamola a fortune that year, apparently. I think, I'm guessing now, but all the details are in the book.
Oh,
it was hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Which back then is insane. Yeah. It's insane now, but...
Yeah. So when Sheene came back, that deal must have been massive. And there was people who I got to know in Suzuki who were panicking for the jobs because they sort of clashed horns with Barry. I mean, Barry was a very powerful lad, but he was very shrewd. He was a really nice guy to meet to, but I would imagine if you crossed him, then, he had a lot of influence. And he helped me out in my career, later on in my career. And he didn't need to. A couple of times. So that was that. So I was left high and dry. I thought I was still staying with Suzuki. And, it was all hush-hush that Sheene was coming back. And I think it was even after Christmas. So, yeah, everything's okay. We're going. But in the background, they were obviously working on this deal, which came off. So he came back, said, sorry, there's nothing for you at all. Clear off. So I'm like, shit, I had nothing in the pipeline, no bikes, no nothing. So the following year, it was like, do I want to carry on doing this? This is a bit...
home life at this point, you've gone through all this, you've sacrificed everything. Did you actually have any fallback at all? Or was this literally you standing on the porch going...
No, nothing.
Well, Barry, you're a bit of a prick, really. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, but I didn't see it as that. I was obviously, a victim of
wrong timing.
Picture.
Yes,
wrong timing. So I don't feel... I can't remember feeling bitter and twisted. I just feel a bit disappointed, really, and just thinking, oh, shit. So I spent most of the year not doing anything, knocking on doors. The only thing that I can remember, so I used to go around to meetings and, see if there's anything going, but there's no rides going, because there wasn't really many, apart from Honda and Suzuki, which were, there wasn't like a team like... say someone like GNS, Mark Fisher, who runs his team, there wasn't like individual people who had their own teams.
It was like what the paddock is now in a way, yeah.
Which is what it is now. It's everybody sort of makes a team, whereas you were a rider and you went racing.
Yes.
And you just made it happen.
Yes, yeah.
So, and they was kind of transitioning round about that point, I guess, to become more of a team-based thing. So I just went round meetings, couldn't get anything, but I remember going in Wayne Gardner's caravan.
Just.
Yeah, no,
it's just. Yeah. You're going to go through this, you know that, don't you? No, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
You don't see that right now, but these stories are going to just spin around. But he's just like Wayne Gardner. It's like.
So I went into Wayne Gardner's caravan.
Yeah, no, I went into Wayne Gardner's caravan for some reason because I wanted a connection with Motorbike because someone in Japan to see if there was anything doing that way or even going to Australia or anything really. And I just remember we were having a conversation and he just turned around and he said, Paul, the only thing you've got to remember is you can't keep a good man down. And that was another quote that I can remember, And that was another thing like, well, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I like that, yeah.
And I think then there was a lad called Ryan Farquhar from the Isle of Man who'd built up an XR69 sort of replica Harris replica.
Not Northern Ireland's Ryan Farquhar. Totally different Ryan Farquhar.
Not Ryan Farquhar. Farquhar.
Farquhar.
Right, and it might not even been right.
Shrek.
It was Far.
Might not even been right.
I think it was Ryan Farquhar.
No. I'm just obviously we have a lot of Northern Irish listeners. Everyone's going, when the fuck did that? Just wanted to
Didn't know
clear
it was that old.
Yeah.
I know.
It's Farquhar. He was a Manx lad.
Got you there.
And he'd built a Harris XR69 replica with a GSX 1100 engine in. And he wasn't riding it for some reason. And he just, I don't know how it happened, but he got in touch with me. There's another bit of my story as well that I'll need to backtrack in a bit. But he got in touch with me and said, look, I've got a bike here. If you want to ride it. So, great. And so I entered it for the Ulster. So my first race of that year was the Ulster. And also at that time...
What
hang on, wait a minute. I'd done the TT on that bike.
Because the Ulster Grand Prix, like how when I raced it, was in August.
Yeah,
the August time.
September.
So you started off. Was this the same time period? So it was very late on in the year. You must have done the TT prior.
I think I had, and I think I'd done it on production bikes.
Aye. I feel like I was there.
No. It's the following year. That's funny. No, that year, Ulster Grand Prix, Ryan Farquhar gave me this bike, and I went to the Ulster on it. And another guy had also gave me 500 to take there as well. So that was my first, and probably... It's all a bit confusing now, the chain of events. I think the Ulster was my first race of that year, and it possibly was my only race of that year. No, I went to Brands. on that 500. And it was reasonably competitive, actually. I think I raced both bikes at Brands. So I did the Ulster. I must have done a couple of other races. I did a Cadwell full circuit on that 4-stroke, because I've got a picture of me going over the mountain, and I can't remember what results I did or what meetings I was doing. I just remember doing a Cadwell meeting on it. Then we went to Brands, and we did Brands on the 500 and that 4-stroke. But the lad who was doing the tuning on the 4-stroke, a lad called Barry Gannon, sold the engine that was in the frigging bike, and he put me a drag race engine in, 1350cc, 15-to-1 compression ratio engine in it, and it was just, you couldn't ride it. You couldn't even start it. But once you did get it started, you couldn't ride it. So I think I binned that one for that. I did not bin it literally. I just thought I'll sack that off for the meeting and just rode the 500. And again, I was up in the mix at the front, really. I've got pictures there, and I don't know where I finished, but I was in the mix. But the following year, there's a guy called David Brown who was sponsoring Damon Hill at the time, because Damon Hill did Normal Clubman's and a few internationals on a TZ350 for David Brown. And somehow I got hold of David Brown and another guy, which is Christian's godfather, Phil Jones, and taught them into sponsoring me, basically. And between them, we had the choice, actually. So there was 2 bikes. We decided we wanted to buy an RG500, and I would do the European Championship and Grand Prix the following year as a privateer. So they said, if we buy a bike, can you run it? Yeah. You know. So.
That's what I love about racing. It's like, let's just go do GPs.
I know.
That's like us loading up the Rouse trailer right now. Let's just put a bike in and go to GPs. Yeah. It just can't be done.
No. So we bought an RG500. We got one from Suzuki. Went down to choose one, and there was 4 bikes. There was 2 Sheenes and 2 Hewans, Mark 7 Suzukis, RG500. And so I knew the mechanics by this stage. He said, look, which one's done the less? He said, that practice bike of Keith Hewans has done the less mileage. So I was right, we'll have that one because that's the freshest. And the one that, if I'd have chosen the Suzuki of Sheene, that one keeps being bantered around the auctions at the moment for like 200 grand. And it's only a standard Mark 7 but Sheene did use it. It was one of his practice bikes. So we bought that bike for the following year, decided to do the European Championships. The first round was at Donington, and I won it. So that was it. We were on the road then to go and do the Europeans. Christian was born... Were you born that year or the following year? That'd be 1980.
Careful not to let my age slip right
yeah,
now.
here we go. Well, Grace, get ready
I'm
with the
already
bleep.
a bit moody about being as old as I am.
Grace, get ready. You can say it, but Grace will bleep it out.
You were born.
85.
Yeah, no, you weren't on the
Through
scene.
gritted teeth,
I was
ladies and
born-
gentlemen.
Yeah, no, you weren't born then. So that year we had a Mark 7 Suzuki, and we went to the European Championships. And so how I set my stall out that year is every time that bike had to go out, I had to earn 500 quid to pay. That was my budget.
For him.
No, not for him that by this stage. So I had to earn 500 quid every time the bike went out. We could do that by finishing top 3 of the Europeans would pay me something like €800, so it was 500 quid. To qualify for a Grand Prix would give me 500 quid, so we decided we'd do Grand Prix. And then the odd international where you could get start money still, like in Holland they had, sort of international races on street where you'd get sort of, I don't know, a bit of start money.
So you're basically going round to round, just the next round is covered by making sure you finish in the...
I had to earn 500 quid every time I went out on that bike. I had to earn 500 quid to make it pay for the tyres and spares.
A nursery for hire on a motorcycle. I like it. No, you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah, so I had my van, a caravan.
Were you married at this point?
No.
Still.
I was. Weed came around with me. Christian's mum came around with me all the time. I talked to a local lad who was working to come and be my mechanic to work for fags. So he
How many fags?
Unfortunately, he died of cancer.
I made him give up smoking to save money. So that was a lad called Peter Wetter's Shep. He's been involved with Haslam's now for many years. So I sort of taught Shep into leaving his job and coming with me for the racing, which he did. So there was me, Shep, Weed, bike, van, caravan.
My mum.
Yeah, Christian's mum.
Weed.
Oh yeah, it's a long story. Well, it's not that long, but anyway. Yeah, my mum's called Weed.
Yeah.
All right, I like it. There you are. Carry on.
And that was it. We just went racing and 500 quid every time I went out. So, most times I was in top 3 of the European. I led the European Championship for a good while. Then it was between me and a guy called Marco Gentile. And he won it by 3 points, 2 or 3 points or something. Or is that the following year? That could be the following year. That's the following year. Don't know what I finished in the European Championship that year. I'd have to check. But we did that, did Grand Prix, so all we did was drive. So 3 days, but you'd have a European Championship in Sweden, and then the following week you'd have a Grand Prix in Austria.
Class.
So you were just, we thought nothing of driving for 3 days solid to get from meeting to meeting.
With the bike in the back of the van and...
Yeah, just the van and caravan. So we just basically lived abroad. When we came back, David Brown, he supplied, he said, well, you can have the flat above my bike shop in Canterbury. He opened a new bike shop in Canterbury, so you can have a flat above there for nothing. So it was dead handy to go for the ferry, but we didn't used to come home very often. So we just sort of lived as gypsies. So we just...
That is just amazing. Yeah. Right, I'm going to ask a very inappropriate question, and feel free to hit me. Crack on. Which country was he conceived in then?
I think it was Silverstone.
Oh, boo! I was hoping something like on the Belgian border. Me and your mother met Christian. You know what I mean? We hadn't slept for 4 days. Motorway miles.
Yeah.
We kicked the mechanic out. Sorry, mate.
No, I think it was Silverstone. That I think. Well, it could.
Poor Shep's trying to have a quiet fag in the front.
That's it. I could paint the scene. That's great. So, no wonder you were literally born in a race.
Literally.
At a racetrack. Were you born at a racetrack?
No, my dad was you were away racing when I was born, weren't you?
Oh.
Yeah. That'll come at the end of this year because we had quite a big. I know that was the following year we had that big crash because you were on the scene then. So that year, I'm just trying to think of notable events of that year.
Christian's birth.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the season. I'm not going to that bit.
I'm only winding.
I'm not going
Your
to that
son's
bit.
birth.
85, that was a tough, not much happened that year.
It was his lad hanging around all the time. He never left. Sorry.
I'm just trying to think what went on that year. All sorts of things, but some things I can't talk about. How you made ends meet.
Is this your gangster stuff?
Go on, yeah.
Come on, is this the guy? It is, isn't it? Please, go on.
There was an opportunity that was arose to me one night. We were doing this year. We were doing a non-championship event at Swanenstad in Holland. I think it is, not Belgium or Holland. I think it's Holland. And we'd all been in the pub, got absolute rat arse before the race the next day, and I'm wandering back. And there was a Michelin van doing the service there. So I wandered back and felt the door. Door was open.
Good man.
I sobered up quite quick and and took advantage of the opportunity that was handed to me, let's say. Which was quite a result for the day.
Hey, Paul's put some weight on. Go through the paddock.
Yeah. I didn't get much sleep that night.
I bet the door was locked. Good man.
No, that was dealing with the opportunity that was given me.
Damn right. You deserve them tyres, son. You spent that much money on tyres.
Yeah.
You deserve them.
Yeah.
This is when you see Christian Iddon out the back of Pirelli truck. Well, if it was good enough for Dan.
Pirelli are just putting extra locks now on there.
Keep an eye on Paul Iddon.
Yeah.
That's class. No, but hey, needs must, son. Needs must.
I don't know I'd have to Google what I finished in the European Championship that year. I was certainly up there.
See, I personally like how you.
I think
you're
it
not
was second or third.
No, but it doesn't matter. You know, I like the. You know, it's class, man.
I'd have to. What I could do, I could go and get my FIM silver and bronze medals out of the house. Yeah. Did you get any FIM?
Shut up, man.
Medals at all, Christian?
I finished third. I've got a bronze medal.
Oh, he's got a bronze medal. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Well done, son. Well done.
I've got 2 silvers and a bronze, I think.
Is racing easier back then, though, Christian?
Of course it was easier. Sometimes he shows me how slow he went on the VHS. He gets the old VHS out, and I have to ask if it's in slow motion or not.
They do look slow.
The first time I went I raced the KTM Cup.
They do look slow.
I raced the KTM Cup on them RC8s.
This is true.
Or whatever it was. And my dad asked it about, we were at Donington, and he goes, "Oh, you are taking Craner flat out, aren't you?" I went,
in 5th.
No. He's going, "Oh, that's what we all did." He's literally just told you.
I said,
his bike had 100 horsepower, and it weighed whatever. It's like riding the ones. Yeah.
119 on the Suzuki.
He wanted me to go flat out because 40 years ago that's what they did.
I said, you just shortchange to 5th at the top of Craner, then just nail it. And I said, don't ease off. I said, just change direction. Keep it pinned.
Thankfully, I didn't listen to me, Dad.
But it was the guy who was.
Yeah, there was a lad called Dave. It was Dave Hill and Dave Wood were both doing it.
Dave Wood.
And he was the man of the moment, really, wasn't he?
Wood, yeah.
So I collared Dave Wood.
It's
and
annoying.
I said, "Here, my dad says that," because he was the guy who was winning the KTM. I went, "My dad reckons you go flat out down Crane," and he just laughed. He went,
and I'm like, "Young you?" And he's like,
No.
Oh, all right then.
I haven't done that for about 20 years.
I've got a similar story with that with the Isle of Man, so there is a bit of a difference. I completely agree on that side of things. My God. So let's talk a little bit more.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, go.
Sorry.
I love it. Go.
That season, I've missed but that was my Isle of Man debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that year. Yeah,
well, you've done all this. You know, you've gone round, you've done Europe, you've gone up and that, like the stories that you must have. We could fill another 4 episodes. I can feel it. But were you fussed about doing the Isle of Man at this point, or was it just a necessity?
Not fussed, no.
That's interesting.
And I don't really know why I decided to go there.
So you weren't...
You've had some... What's your best result at the Isle of Man?
5th in the Formula 1 race.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
So you fair pedalled. Because
I was dicing with Foggy for 3rd. There was me, Foggy, and someone else dicing for 3rd on the last lap over the mountain. Yeah. But we'll get on to that.
What I want to know is, did you enjoy it? Because I know the answer to this, because I at some point did show quite a keen interest, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I remember your advice going, you do a lap of the TT and you tingle from head to toe. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But don't do it.
Yeah.
Which is not really it's a bit contradictory, I think, in terms of advice.
No, I don't want you to do it probably. I don't want. It is the first to do a fast. You'll know, to do a fast lap of the Isle of Man. You get off and you are. You're buzzing. You're buzzing.
You're not there, are you?
No, you're like. It's like, yeah. But I obviously didn't want Christian to go there because I've lost a lot of people from the Isle of Man. Simple as that. No other reason. I can understand why people want to go there, but I've never been an Isle of Man fanatic. You're.
I'm on this earth to race that circuit.
I'm not. I never have been. And I don't know why we decided to go to the Isle of Man that year on the RG, on the Mark 7, but we did. I had that bike. I had the Farquhar bike, Farger bike, not Farquhar bike.
And not Ryan.
Not Ryan. No, I think it was Ryan.
Disclosure.
I think it was Ryan Farquhar.
This has to be the name of the episode.
Farquhar. Or can you just loop a reel? Farquhar. Like Farquhar. I like it. I'm going Farquhar.
I think I had 2 production bikes, an RG500 production bike, because it's the first year of the TT Prix race. That's probably why we decided to go.
That was my curiosity, because obviously you weren't fussed, but we kind of not you can't force to do anything in this world, but you thought, in order to do this, I need to do X.
I think that must have been it, because I was a Prix racer, and they had a Prix race at the Isle of Man. I thought, well, now's probably the time to go. The Isle of Man was on my radar to do, because it's kind of peer pressure. Well, you need to go and do the Isle of Man. You need to do the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man. Blah, blah, blah.
First time racing.
So it's perhaps more of a curiosity, really, that I wanted to go, and not so much an ambition. Yes, I wanted to go and do it, and that's perhaps the first opportunity that came, especially with the production bikes. So I had a GSX 750. No, I didn't have the RG 500 that year. That was the years with Suzuki. So I just had a GSX 750 that Suzuki had given to David Brown. So I had the Prodi bike, the RG 500, and the F1 bike. And I think I did. First couple of laps were on the Prodi bike, which was okay. Then went out on the RG 500, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it, because it was like riding a brick. I had to go out and buy a body belt, a motocross body belt. You didn't set suspension up in the day. You just rubbed the bike. And if it started to handle badly, you gave somebody the shock to service. We were using WP. It was called White Power at the time, to change to WP, using WP rear shock, because there was a service at European Championships and Grand Prix, got to know the guy. So he'd just set your bike up and you'd ride it. But I never changed it. I never put a softer spring on for the Isle of Man or anything. With the RG5, and I hated riding that around the Isle of Man. And I don't know where I finished. I don't know what speed I went.
But you had a bite, though.
Yeah, I had a bite, yeah.
No, but it's interesting. No, it's, that ambition. It's like you just wanted to win races.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like at that point, you must be rolling up going, but then the flag drop. You're battling with Carl Fogarty.
No.
But I mean, like when we were talking about you as a roads racer.
Yeah. I suppose it planted the seed a little bit. I got a bit of Isle of Man experience. I didn't particularly come away thinking I enjoyed it, because it was the time when...
Very honest.
It was the time when you used to go out early morning practice. Most of the time it used to be frigging misty.
Yeah.
So, and Guy Sandel was my mechanic, and he'd ridden the Isle of Man. And he was saying, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I went out and did a lap practice, came and I said, I'm not going out anymore. It's misty. Oh, no, you need to be doing that. Like, no, I'm not going around there in the mist. You'd be going over, you'd come into the mountain, you go into the mist, and you'd be like, hell am I going, sort of thing. And someone like, I don't know who would be fast, Joey. Just,
yeah, one of the Dunlops.
What? And I'm like, no, I'm not going over there. If it's misty, I'm not going out. Full stop. Not a chance. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm just not doing it. And I think also the time I was at the Isle of Man, I kept coming across people stuck in the edge, crashed. Steve Henshaw was one going through, I think it was through Caterham or somewhere like that, or Quarry Bends, and he was stuck in the, on the footpath and of various shapes. And I'm like,
did any of that ever affect you? Because I remember you telling me a story about Klaus Klein and Neil Robinson about those riders.
No, that was later on, really.
Yeah, but has any of that ever...
Didn't really affect me, but it certainly made me think, I remember the first time at the Ulster. We went up over Deersleep, going down into, what's that first right-hand at bottom of the hill? Is it Leathers? That's not Leatherstown, is it? No.
It is, yeah.
Is it? No, that's after the start and finish. You got Leatherstown at the start and finish, then you go up over Deers Lane.
Oh, shite.
Down
I
the
know
hill.
what you mean. It's beautiful, that right, though.
Going into there, and there's like some trees
Yep.
on the braking zone with a wall there.
Yep.
Someone came down the outside, lost it, rattled himself down that bank. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. It was almost like a video game, you know, where you see these
this
things.
isn't
and
actually
I'm
happening,
like,
yeah.
But it didn't affect me, but I suppose it's still... I rode the Isle of Man at 80%, 70 or 80%. You know, definitely wasn't scratching. Definitely not.
I tell you what, I feel like, obviously, I want to fast forward. I'm sorry, I'm skipping a fair bit of the timeline. Obviously, you ran TT teams. Now, like, obviously, like I say, we're missing Supermoto and everything like that at the moment, but you've ran TT teams. I want to talk about that 80, 90, 100%.
Yeah.
In your opinion, has that changed?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So how to win TTs, which when you ran the team, you won Dean Harrison's first TT win.
Yeah.
How much different was that from when you did it?
Massively so, I think. You know, to see the likes of Dean and Hickey going around the TT, and the, you know, even John, that last one that John McGuinness won,
15,
where he pulled that out of the bag, didn't he? He was doing nothing all week, and then all of a sudden he won the classic, didn't he? But there's a picture of him completely crossed up, and he obviously woke up that morning, thought, I'm having this. And he must have been 110% that day. Must have been. And I'm sure that Dean and Hickey and the likes, you know, and Davey Todd now are at that level. Because the thing that surprises me, being involved with running the team and watching the onboard footage, whether it be bloody Oliver's Mount or the TT, having done the TT, in my mind, I learned the TT as a ribbon of tarmac. I have no idea what the names of corners are at the TT, no idea whatsoever. And it was just a ribbon of tarmac with certain markings. It might be a telegraph pole or a bank or, you know, an entrance to a road. And it's just a video game in front of my face. But that's still in my head how fast that happened for me. And to watch the onboard stuff now, and listen to the bikes and knowing what gear they're in and you just think, fucking hell, fire. It is so fast. It is so fast. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's changed completely. The Isle of Man, certainly. Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends what you're looking at.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got several
when it goes wrong, it's a bad thing.
Of course.
You know, and I think whenever there's a fatality, certainly the Isle of Man, and as a team manager, I wanted to try and, when I was offered the job to be a team manager, my first priority, because we had young riders then, my first priority was to make it, and it's the same with Christian, my first priority as a mentor, team manager, whatever you want to call it, is to use my experience to make it as safe as possible for them. So you can steer them in the right direction, do certain things, get the mind in certain, you know, frames so you can make it a bit safer. And that was the same as a manager. My first priority was to try and make it as safe as possible. So whether ever there was a bad accident or a fatality, I'd like to try and, in my own mind, is know why, to use that experience
to understand the situation.
The situation. And one that really sticks in my mind was Dan Neen.
Yes.
Because Dean was following Dan Neen when he came in, and he was
2018.
Dean you wouldn't get rattled. And he came in at the end of that lap and he was like, his head was gone. And I think it took him a few days to get over that, to be honest. But then when, I sort of got Dean and asked him, well, where did he crash? And he sort of told me where he crashed. And again, the names of the places, I'm not 100%, but was it Prix? Is it K-Tree and then Alpine?
You've got Alpine's the right, so you've got K-Tree. It's part of the same section, so it's like after you've come over the actual past the K-Tree. Right.
So you come out of K-Tree,
yeah,
and then the next major corner is Alpine.
Yeah,
but Dean said he crashed between K-Tree and Alpine.
Yeah,
on the right-hander. I said, there isn't a right-hander between K3 and Alpine.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, there is. And I'm like, sure, there's not a right-hander between K3 and, or is it a left-hand kink or right-hand kink? It's a right-hand kink.
It's, yeah, right-hand kink, yeah.
And he said he was just slightly offline and he just lost the front. So I actually went out to look at that section to because in my mind there was no right-hander there. At the speeds I was going, or the speeds I'd done the Isle of Man, there was no, never even thought about it.
Like on a 500 classic bike or a 350, ran about 66. Like on a slower twin, straight in. Yeah, it's not really a corner.
No,
but on a big bike,
I didn't think about it. But then on a big bike, and the conclusion is, he crashed there because the bikes are just so fucking fast. That's why he crashed. So, and he was slightly offline. He was obviously pushing on, trying to make, and Dean said he must have just gotten a bit of a dirty try and just lost the front.
Yeah.
And he was thinking, how can you lose the front there? But again, on a big bike, you're still accelerating. The front's light.
Camber of the road, bumps and everything.
And he just got caught out. But it boils down to it was because the bikes are so fast. They've got so much power and they're so fast. So, and you're not going to get away from that.
No.
So,
but it's like any the counter argument. No, this is the wrong case to talk about that. But it's like you can only make a bike go as quick as you can make it. Even on a slower bike like a super twin lap of like Michael Dunlop doing 123 mile an hour. You make the corners faster and more dangerous. It's like the Isle of Man itself. And my argument has always been, it's an inanimate object. You only make the track dangerous.
Yeah.
We could sit here and discuss that all day. No, but there is. And like things are getting faster and corners that aren't corners are becoming corners. Yeah. I agree with that. And it's because of things that are elevating so much like quicker. But it's...
to process... But on the other hand, because speeds are getting faster and, sort of going back to the river and tarmac, how fast it opened up into my mind and the reaction you had to do, the speed you're having to process what's going on, doing 135, whatever it is, around the Isle of Man now, the speed you're having to process that information and react to be able to do that, there's got to be a limit. There's got to be a limit because you can't process it.
But it's mad because obviously on paper there's like a lap speed of nearly 137. Like... Right. Peter Hickman was under the lap record but then lost it at Ginger Hall this year. You know what I mean? It's like you're thinking, the history repeats itself. It's like when Bob McIntyre did the first 100 mile an hour, that'll never go quicker. And then like the Carl Foggy, it was like 123s.
McGuinness in the big 130.
130, you're thinking this can't go any quicker, and it's a terrifying concept. You're right. But are we getting closer to it, or is just the evolution of the sport?
I don't know. As bikes progress, then maybe you that allows you to process that.
But obviously, other things have changed quite a lot. So, like, you don't ride in the wet round there now, and
no.
You don't have the fog. If there's fog on the mountain, you don't ride. If conditions are slightly out, then other things have got a lot better, haven't they?
Oh God,
they have. But I don't think that makes any safer because when you've got a wet race or a foggy race, you ride you ride accordingly. It's like you don't crash as often in the wet as you think you would.
Yeah, because you ride to the conditions.
Because you've got to smooth everything out, so you've got to ride to the conditions. Whereas when you've got grip, I just push it that bit further and just push that further. And when it goes wrong bigger, doesn't it?
And for you being there as a team manager, because I know you have a really good connection with Dean, and did you prefer to be you on the start line or to be having someone out there? Because it's a big responsibility as well, having a...
That's a great question.
There's no... The start line at the TT is a very, should we say, emotional place within yourself. Both as a rider, when you sat on that start line, you're thinking, fire, someone's going to probably going to die in this race.
Yeah.
And that is there. So there is. And then once you're gone, it's gone. But sat on that start line is a big thing. And I suppose I got exactly the first time I walked out onto that start line. It wasn't with Dean. It was probably with either
Russ Mountford.
Russ Mountford, or it could have been, probably Russ Mountford or Malachi. Might have been Malachi. I can't remember now. Probably Russ. still the same feeling, yeah, definitely. I don't know what the feeling is.
See, that's
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what the feeling is. It's
borderline numb.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's like being in a. It's a surreal thing because it's a serious thing you're about to undertake, and it's like it's not anticipation. It's undescribable, really. But yeah, I got the same feeling as a team manager as I did as a rider.
That's interesting.
But it wasn't really one to think that I was going to get hurt or that the rider I was involved with was going to get hurt. It's not that thing, because you wouldn't do it if you thought that.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. The doing what you're doing on that course is a big thing.
Oh, massive.
Yeah. And obviously the very last thing that you did with that setup was win the senior.
Yeah.
With Dean.
Yeah.
He essentially when you joined the team.
That was the whole point. The point of the team was to win the senior TT.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the whole goal.
But at the time, I don't know how much people realised the background, but obviously that team was in Supermoto, and then they moved into the short circuits with a couple of their riders, did a bit of roads, and then from what I remember at the start, when you first got involved, it was more, they were kind of in the B paddock of the setup at the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And then it was, what do you attribute that rise to? Obviously, it's a well-funded team, but took on Dean.
Yeah, it's taking on. Dean was the change for the team. Yeah, because but the whole point really was that we probably got Dean a year earlier than we were anticipating. Because the idea was to build the team up and get the team working as a team and get the transport right and the personnel right and just everything working as a team. And the opportunity of getting Dean probably came a year earlier than I was anticipating, really. But it was like, it's an opportunity, got to run with it. So, yeah. And then everything changes then, because you've got a front runner, so promoters look at it differently. Mm-hmm. They look at it being more serious, regardless of how much money, how much budget the team's got or how good the team looks. And it just changes the whole, it went from building the team to wanting to win a TT. Simple as that, and but to win was always been the goal. I'm not.
At that point when that situation, I've got a job for you, I want you to run a team. Here we are. This is what we want to do. And then, how much pressure were you under in yourself? I can already hear the answer. But how much pressure did you feel when they went, we want to win a TT one year? Was that yeah, no problem? Or was that quite flippant? Or was it quite, you know what I mean? Was it? Because
I wouldn't say I put it under pressure. It's just putting everything into place to try and to be able to do that.
It was just achievable in your mind, I think.
Yeah, and it was definitely achievable. Yeah, if they said I want you to win a Motor Grand Prix race, or at the time BSB or something like that, it's like, no, it's not achievable. No point doing it. But the whole thing was to do a roads team to win the TT, and I thought, yeah, that's definitely achievable, because it's, you don't. The rider still makes the difference, doesn't it, the TT? End of.
Yeah.
End of. So, you don't need to have the absolute best bike out there or the best personnel out there, or, and then there's still a lot of luck involved in the TT, isn't there? Being in the right place, people break down, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, no, I don't think there's any. The pressure is getting everything in place so everybody was was there.
Yes.
Was actually the coordination, really, because if you get the right people, the way I sort of did it is to get the right people in there, and the team would virtually run itself. And then you just had to make sure everybody was going to the same place. Really.
It's a proper chilled out version of it, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm quite a laid back guy. I don't really get flustered.
Do you think that served you well as a team manager? Do you think that's a good attribute to have, so that there's no...
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But the other thing is, I'm a very down-to-earth person.
Do you agree with that, Christian?
Very grounded.
Do you agree with that?
Well, he's just been boasting about his silver medal, so maybe not.
Yeah. And I'm also used to the way I'm also used to doing what you do with the minimum budget, so I don't like wasting money.
Yes. Yeah.
So I felt that I could channel the resources, which it wasn't an unlimited budget at the time.
No.
You did have to have a budget, work to a budget. So, but no, I thought it was an achievable thing. Yeah, I didn't think that's pie in the sky. So that's what I want to take it on.
But I tell you what, I just want to quickly jump back a bit before your role of like taking on that team. When you decided, what was that moment you thought, I've had enough? Was it
of riding?
What to finish off your career, because obviously we got to a point where really it's
I didn't have a point like that.
Right.
What's even your biggest achievement?
The reason I came to that decision was the last year I raced, full season I raced, was 1988 on the Bimotor. And even though that £30,000 was taken away as a budget, I still had enough sponsorship to run it for the year. But because that bike, because it was unreliable, like I'd be in the top 6 of a World Superbike race at Austria, and it'd break down on the last lap because of the fuel injection system. And it did that both races. Because of that, I didn't have any sponsorship to run it for the following year. Because I wasn't as competitive as I wanted to be on that bike, because they were winning the World Championship, and at times I knew I could ride as fast as them, but because I didn't have the resources, sort of technical resources to run it, whereas Bimotor did.
Yes.
I wasn't really enjoying it. I wasn't getting the results. And because I wasn't getting the results, I wasn't enjoying it. So I thought, well, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not getting the results, and I'm not earning any money, and Christian was about to go to school, what am I doing? What am I doing it for? So I never decided I was packing it. I thought, if something doesn't come along, I'm not going racing next year.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. So I kind of drifted out of it rather than decide I'm retiring.
But what year was your best year then? Because obviously at some point you finished second in the World Championship. So that can't have been many years before that.
No, that would be... At second, I was... So 86, 87, I was on Skull Bandit Suzuki.
Mm.
And I finished second and third in the World Championships. So second was 87. I should have won it in 87.
But
I fell off at... by the second round,
means you were pushing.
If I'd have won the race in Hungaroring, the first time we went to Hungary, to the Hungara Ring, whatever it's called, I was leading it by 15 seconds or something.
Yeah. And
I'd won the first race at Misano. And if I'd have won that race, I would have already been 15 points in the lead. And front tyre was worn out, and I just lost the front because the front tyre was worn out. So I was always going to crash in that race at some point.
Yes.
Because of the tyre choice. But I don't know
whether we... fancy nicking any out the back of the Michelin.
Well, I don't think I had any of those stocks left. I think I did. I don't know what the choice of compounds was, or whether we even had a choice of compound.
Mm. Yeah.
It might have been the fact that
either way it was fated at that particular point.
Would it have been a new tyre for the race?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah. No, it was yeah. Whether or not we had a choice of compound, I honestly can't remember. Whether I even knew that we had choice of compounds at that time, I can't. I would have done, but we possibly didn't, and we possibly hadn't had any problems. Whether it might have even been an iffy tyre.
And when you would, so
nobody else had that problem.
You had 2 years of finishing the top 3 of World Championship,
which is incredible.
Surely that was a lucrative time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to have a little secret cupboard in my motor. I used to put all my cash in, and then I had a deal.
Struggling to close it. Christian, give us a hand with it.
I had a deal with the money exchange at Manchester Airport, that I got a better rate if I kept bringing him all this cash over. So I used to
You
just
are a
take it down
gangster.
there.
You are. Look, I'm a big fan of your work.
I remember one Christmas you told us some stat about you were the first ever race winner somewhere, and I didn't quite believe you. But where was that one?
Oh, that would be...
Was it Jerez, you said, or something like that?
It was either Jerez or Estoril.
There was a stat that he told us, and basically he was the first ever international race
A ref.
winner.
It was a ref.
At
Yeah, because a ref is it's port region, isn't it? And they gave me a bottle of port on the podium, not a bottle of port. They gave us it was a bottle of port. So I was like, I'm like expecting champagne, and took a massive swig of this port. I was like, what the?
Just upset whole continent there.
Yeah, so it was a ref. It was the first international race at a ref. Yeah, that had been run, and I won it. So.
And what would you say is your biggest single race achievement? Because there's two that stand out from all your stories, and one's the 200 mile of Imola, and the other one is probably Donington 88, was it?
Yeah, Donington, no, 87, TTF1. So first round, both 87. First round of the World Championship at Misano, which was the Imola 200 that year, which... Yeah, it was good to get that trophy, but it wasn't really the Imola 200. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just a TTF1 race and for some marketing.
But it was a World Championship.
It was a World Championship. And
Stop downplaying what you've achieved.
I didn't know. I wasn't knowing what to expect. And we won that race on a bike that was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
For instance, if you remember a guy called Walter Villa, who used to be a factory rider, he's won World Championships. He was in that race as a privateer. He was about 90 years old. And on the last lap, he slipstreamed past me going, because Misano ran the opposite way around back in that day. And he actually slipstreamed past me on the back straight on my last lap there. And I said to the lads, I said, this bike, there's something wrong with it. I said, and all the bells were bent in it and everything. It was just a mess, but it finished the race. And I won it quite easy for some reason. I don't know why. It's obviously, you know, the bike was put together well, it handled well, and it had the pace. So I didn't really feel that was a big achievement. It was more of a realisation, shit, we've got a competitive, you know, we've got a package this year. Donington was probably the most satisfying one, yeah, because it was my 30th birthday, so that was probably my most.
But you cheated for that one as well?
No, I didn't cheat. No, I didn't cheat. No, that was being shrewd. That was being shrewd. What happened for Donington?
For the record.
Yeah, that was just me, yeah, being canny, really. For the Suzukis we had the previous year, which were factory spec Suzukis, but they were built in Heron, so we basically had the rolling chassis were from Suzuki. I think in 86 they were probably full-on Yoshimura engines, but for 87 I think we built our own engines using Yoshimura parts, but we had these really trick magnesium carburetors, FCR. I don't know if they're Mikunis or Keihines. I think they were Keihine FCR, but magnesium body things with roller bearings in to make it smoother off the bottom and all this sort of thing. But the spec of the 1987 bike was 2 millimeters bigger. So rather than buy new carburetors, they said, we'll just bore them out. And I expressed concern at the time because TTF1, you had fuel stops in that time, and our bikes in 1986, the majority of the time we didn't have to have a fuel stop. Mm. Like Hockenheim was a race, we didn't have to fuel stop there, whereas Joey did. And so that year, when Joey, because he was on a factory RVF, and the bike was so superior to what we had, even though our bikes were factory bikes, that was a proper Honda factory bike, and it was just a place like Hockenheim, it was mega fast. So Joey was always in control on tracks like that. But I got past him in, I think he had enough time to fuel and come out in the lead, but I think he was on a bit of a, I know I outbroke him going into the infield at Hockenheim to lead it briefly until I got on the straight and just pissed off the race. But the upshot was that we didn't have to fuel stop, so we could be competitive there. And I expressed, I said, look, you know, we're going to have to fuel, we might have to fuel stop with these carburetors. We don't know, it doesn't matter, that's what we're doing. And sure enough, we had to do fuel stop. They were more thirsty with these carburetors. So for Donington Park, very early on, I was very good friends with Anders Anderson, who also had factory Suzuki equipment similar to ours. And I asked Anders if he had a spare set of they were 36 mil the previous year, and we bought them out to 38. So very early on in the year, even before of the week, might have even been prior to Donington, I asked him if he had a spare set of 36 mil carbs. Yes, I have. Can I borrow them if I need them for Donington Park? Yes, you can. Great. So the first practice session, yeah, we're going to have to fuel stop. Right. Can we put these carbs on? Yep. I did tell the team manager at the time that both mechanic and we said, we've got these carbs, we're putting 36 mil carbs on. Yeah, that's fine. And we didn't have to fuel stop. So in the race, there was me and Roger Marshall.
Who was your teammate?
Who was my teammate. So Roger was leading the race and I just sat in his wheel. But to be honest, Roger's not going to like that, but he didn't have the pace that weekend that I had. Anyway, so I just sat in his wheel, waited for him to fuel stop and won the race. And Roger went mental. Because the team manager hadn't told him, but we hadn't hidden it. It was all very above
tactics,
board.
son.
It was just tactics, yeah, and just being canny, and also kind of making a point to Suzuki saying, you should have listened to me.
Yes, I
probably would have won the championship if we had done sort of thing. Yeah, so that was the story of that race of the carburetors, and yeah,
damn right.
Because we did the reason why I sort of say that Roger didn't have the pace in that race anyway. He was never going to win that race, regardless. Because we did a British Championship race after the TTF1 race. And Roger had the 1100 Beast thing, and they wanted me to stay on the 750 to develop it for the F1 race, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So I think I led that race for quite a bit, but I went 2 seconds a lap faster in that race than in the F1 race. I was just cruising the F1 race because I knew what I had to do and what I was doing anyway. We had a strategy that we stuck to, sort of thing. So that was always mine.
I like it.
It seems like back then there was a big difference in the bikes. Like now there's not really a disparity between the bikes. Like you could do quite a lot to the bikes, or there was big differences between the factory bikes and the non-factory bikes. One of the patrons, Andy Riders, asked, would you have changed anything on your race bike off your competitors and why? But I guess that's quite a broad-ranging question.
That would have been a good question for Roger Marshall, I think.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a just putting that out there. Just, put that on the board.
But was there like anything you wished, you said about Joey's bike being insane?
Yeah, I wish I had Joey's bike. End off.
Do you think you could have had the matching of... Because I guess Joey was the main man at that time.
Yeah, Joey was. I would say on the road, Joey was Joey on the road, full stop.
Yeah.
Although I must say, I polled at the Ulster Grand Prix in 1987 against Joey in an RVF. So he certainly wasn't unbeatable on certain roads. Mm-hmm. I certainly would not a chance in hell could I shine a light to Joey on the TT track. Not a chance. I didn't know. I never learnt the track well enough to do that. I didn't have the understanding of it. But the Ulster was more just like a short circuit track. For me, the Ulster is the ultimate road race because it's ultra fast and you're 110%. It's short enough that you know everything. And you're 110% around the Ulster.
In your opinion, do you think it'll ever come back? The Ulster Grand Prix?
Who knows? Who knows? It'd be a shame. The Irish being the Irish and being as enthusiastic as they are, I think it will. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. But it's such a difficult...
It's literally politics. Obviously, planning permissions, everything like that. There's
a lot of internal politics, I think, goes on in Ireland, isn't there?
Yeah.
In Northern Ireland. For all sorts of reasons, I guess. But it'd be a pity if it doesn't come back because I think it was the ultimate road race track. The Northwest, I agree with Guy Martin, it's the most boring track you could ever ride in all your life. I've done that once and it was boring. Simple as that. And I agree with him. Again, probably not on the bikes that you're on now, but at the time I did it, I was like, This is shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just wasn't impressed with it at all. And when Guy put his
Moving
head
right
above
to the next guest.
when Guy put his head above the
Sit down,
parity,
listen.
I agreed totally with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Ulster, no, that's different.
The Ulster one.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm praying it comes back. But I tell you what, I've got another question from Dale Johnson, and this is going back a bit. Obviously, it's a good time because you made the choice that you thought the situation's not there to continue, and I respect a man who doesn't retire because he didn't retire. No. I respect that. You know what I mean? The opportunity was there. You didn't put a big spiel out going, "That's it. I've had enough." The opportunities weren't there. So this question is in relation to Dale Johnson, and it's obviously when Christian's turned up. And the question is, were you one of those motocross dads when Christian started out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, because Christian was very open about you being a motocross dad.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
So when Christian started getting in the bikes, were you happy about this? Were you negative about what was, Dad, I want a bike.
No, he didn't ask for a bike. He just had one. It's what we did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's what we did. So Christian's first bike came as an opportunity just before Christmas. Yamaha did these little 30cc race replicas. And by chance, David Brown part exchanged one for something in his shop, and he just rang me and said, "I've just part exchanged this bike. Do you want it for Christian for Christmas present?" Yeah, he sent it up by courier, and it arrived within a day or something like that. So we got it for Christmas, put stabilizers on it, and he got that just before his third birthday. So he had that when he was two and 11, 12, so whatever it is.
Would you have openly beaten your child up if he wanted to get into horses or cars or anything like that?
No.
Not my son.
No.
I'm only joking. By the way, if there's any snowflakes out there, listen to this. I'm joking.
My perspective on the motocross dad thing. So I remember
you're going to be one.
No, I don't feel like I've ever been pushed into anything in terms of racing. So my move to short circuits was, I know it was always hinted at, would even be an exaggeration, but it was maybe slightly discussed. But there was never any push to go that way, because I think the perspective is, if you're not keen on doing it, then there's no point in doing it. Yeah. But I think the motocross dad side that I remember from my dad is more the case of, I can remember there was a bit of needle between me and, would it be Kevin Cookson?
No, that was one thing it was...
I remember my 50cc auto had a 125 pipe on it and something else, and my dad got caught in the back of bear in mind I'm 6 years old. My dad got caught in the back of my competitor's van, trying to check out the modifications that had been made.
What had happened that day, that particular day? It was.
I'll tell you what, you can't remember any position.
Lewis Hollingworth's van. Yeah, it was Pete Hollingworth and Lewis. And Lewis wasn't as competitive as Christian as a rider. But his dad was as competitive as I was as a schoolboy dad, auto dad, in making this best thing that anyone can ever make, sort of thing. And so we'd done the auto Grand Prix down Gloucester or something, and Christian had won it, and he won it even though I'd left the front wheel loose. And they used to come flying down off this. It was a real fast track up onto a hill, wasn't it? They came flying down this hill on these autos like. And he won the race. Oh, great, brilliant, won the race. I went to push it. What the fuck's wrong with this? The front wheel was loose. Jesus Christ. And it could only be me who left it loose. I don't think it would have come loose or anything like that. But he won that. And because of that, Lem sponsored it or something. He was on a Malaguti. Everybody bought Malaguti. Because they had no shocks. And being a tight arse and what's have you, rather than they had no damping in. So I put a steering damper on, and that was the damping. So I put a steering damper on the side of his back, on the side from the frame to the swing arm, and that worked and let him for the speeds he was going at, rather than buy him a set of Falcon shocks. So that worked for that.
I like that.
But then, so he won this race that Lem, who were another manufacturer of autos. So I got on the phone to him. Well, that's on just a blah, 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 blah. Send us a bike up and I'll sell some up here for you, because we're all Malaguti up in the north. If you send some up here, I'll sell them for you. Yeah. I said, I want this pipe, like that, this, that, the other. And so this bike arrived and I spent, must have been 80 hours that week on getting it ready to race. And I put all these things on this, that, the other. And we went to Norley on a schoolboy race, And so Christian's all lined. He had all this brand new pink gear and a Lem helmet. And the peak was over his face like this. It was a horrible helmet. But all this fluorescent gear. And the gates dropped and Christian went, bop, and it just wheeled to the first corner and just left everybody for dead. And I was like, fucking hell, fire.
So how old was you, Christian? Yeah?
You would have been 7, I guess.
So you were
8 by that point.
So you were a factory rider of a manufacturer at 7-year-old.
I don't think you would be 8. You'd be 7.
And he's just so everyone's on. I can imagine what happened after that.
Because you could put these bigger barrels on with a bigger reed block in them, which didn't happen on the small wheel autos. They were off the big wheel bike. You had to cut the frame out and do all sorts of things. And I was in there with a grinder. And then I also got a racing clutch from these people who were. I said, I want one of these racing clutches. So it didn't kick in until they were really.
So Dale, the question is, was he a schoolboy dad?
Yeah.
I think he was the schoolboy dad. That is class.
Yeah.
I bet the phone was busy after that. Can I have one of them?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we sold a few. Yeah, but I've a lot of time I've been the finger pointing schoolboy dad as well. Like I'm telling you, if your lad does that again to my lad, you're having it.
That's class. That's class.
But there did come to a point in my life where I thought I need to stop doing this. And I think we did a race, got home, nobody speaking to each other because I was grumpy because he hadn't done something I wanted him to do. Or, Joe Bloggs had beaten him and he shouldn't have done or something like this. And I went up to his bedroom and said, right, I'm never going to do that again. I apologise, I'm never going to do that again and we'll just back off. So, because it was just getting ridiculous. It was just...
Do you remember that moment?
I don't actually, but...
No, I did, yeah. I'd given you a real hard time. It was about the wet. It was riding the wet. Christian couldn't ride in the wet, a motocross. And I'd given him a real hard time about it, just trying to snap him out of it. Because it did work at times. And I just thought, no, that's going too far now. So we stopped doing that.
There we are.
And then I think he went out in the wet race and won it down at Abigail.
So the beatings resumed.
Yeah, I think that I did. I think my advice then, I said, look, Christian, whenever it's wet, you start putting under pressure and shall just go out and have fun. And he came back absolutely caked. We've got a picture somewhere of you caked in mud. And that was Abigail. So yes, I was a schoolboy dad. Very much so.
Shirley's actually asked as a bit of a follow-on.
Shirley or Cyril?
Cyril, yes.
Cyril.
Shirley Bimson. If Toby wants to follow the same route, would you support him as granddad?
Ooh.
I would, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be if Toby does come to it, he's got 2 schoolboy motocross granddads, hasn't he?
All the other dads are getting it big time.
Yeah, because Hugh's proper fiery, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, my father-in-law is literally the angry dwarf, is what he gets called.
So how that would work is the shrewd shelf of mine would come up, so I'd wind Hugh up. I reckon. I'd wind Hugh up and say,
He's saying this about your grandchild.
But Hugh would have to be the mechanic, wouldn't he? And I'd have to be the manager, I think. At that point. Yeah, we'd have to have the proper hierarchy.
I tell you what, the amount of photographers from BSB that are going to come to your son's first race, and they're not going to be pointing one camera at Toby. It'll be just these two on the side.
Scrap between granddads.
That's exactly it. I love it.
Just going back to, because obviously you've raced against some pretty incredible names and had some amazing teammates, but Connor Henry has actually asked about Neil Robinson and just said your former teammate Neil Robinson seemed to be destined for greatness before his accident. How far do you think he could have gone? And have you got any good stories about racing with him?
Oh, yeah. No, Neil, I've actually got goose pimples now, but I've been asking that question. Neil had the potential to go the full distance, I think, without doubt. Yeah. But funny stories with Neil, Jesus Christ. One that sticks to mind is we were travelling together to do the Jerez race, the one that I'd won. Don't know what happened to Neil there. Neil got drafted into the team because that year my teammate was Chris Martin and he fell off at Donington and broke his elbow. So perhaps Neil did get drafted in at Jerez. I know we were travelling together because there was Neil. We're in the same car together. Neil was there with his manager or stroke friend, John Smythe. And we're all travelling together across from Spain to Portugal. And we got to the border and Neil couldn't find his passport. Oh shit, I've lost my passport. So we got through the first border by juggling passports. It was like shuffling cards, and we kept handing these passports. So, where's your passport? And we got through the border. But then we were in no man's land, and we were out of Spain or out of Portugal, but we weren't into the other country. And somehow we managed to get through anyway. So he was just unorganised, Neil, but we were so competitive as a team. He brought my riding on that year. As soon as we got him in the team, we saw everything was competitive. Press ups, pull up, anything was competitive. And I really enjoyed racing with Neil. We'd had some mega races on the RG500s the year before, where real close ones, where there was a particular race we did at Snetterton. And I had a problem with my RG, which I didn't find out for a good while. The ignition wasn't very good and it was slow. So at Snetterton, Neil had passed me on the straight and I'd just knock him out of the way in the corners. But it wasn't once a lap, it was 3 times a lap. But it was good racing. It wasn't dangerous and we really enjoyed ourselves. So we were, we got on well together. And it brought us both on as riders, I think, because we were really competitive both on and off the track. But if Neil had got into his stride, then he would have just gone. He had more ability than he was definitely a faster rider than I was, definitely, without shadow of doubt. Maybe not on all the tracks, but on the roads as well, he had massive potential on the roads, being Irish, I think. And that was a hard one when he passed, definitely. Yeah, but to answer the question, Neil could have easily won Superbike championships, I think. Yeah, if it had carried on.
Obviously, you've been in the paddock. This is my question to you because I think it's quite interesting for me to understand. But you've been in the race paddock for 50 odd years. How do you feel it's changed, and is it for the good or to the detriment? Like, do you feel the atmosphere is the same or different, or do you think the racing community is the same or different?
Well, like that.
For me, the community's changed a lot. I think there's more people in the paddock because you've got all the extended
job roles, tyre technician,
you've got the rider, then you've got, and it goes down all the way to social media, doesn't it? Through hospitality to social media to everything. So the amount of people that are in the paddock. So, as riders, I think you must still have the same sort of camaraderie. Mm-hmm. I think.
Do you see that though?
No, not really. No.
Do you think?
Because I'm out of it now.
No. But this is the interesting thing. Is like your point of view. You've been team manager, GP, everything that you've done, and now you're looking at racing now, and you just said, "No, that's just interesting." No,
I don't see it because I'm not involved now anymore in racing, really. So you're not, as a rider, you're the focal part. So obviously you've got to have things going on around you, and different members of the team are a focal part, really. And for me now, I'm on the outside really of racing. I'm not involved with racing at all now, really. So you can't, the good old days were great. Just to do your own thing and go racing just with your van and a caravan is, but it's just not the same. It's not. You can't answer it. I don't think.
No,
you can't answer it.
Do you miss not being a part of it? And why aren't you a part of it?
No. Because I'm not a part of it. If I've got nothing to do there, then it's like being fish out of water.
Yes.
So I and not having to go racing is a different part of my life, which I guess I'm enjoying as well.
Yeah.
Really. If somebody offered me a job in racing tomorrow, I wouldn't take it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's
good. You can if you're happy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great.
You still come to the odd race, don't you? And
I still go to local races to Christian, or maybe not so much local races this year because I'll be in Spain it's a pity they're not racing at Navarra for the first round.
They're doing tests in there, aren't they? But not the first round. Yeah.
But I'll be out in Spain at that time anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, I still go and watch Christian at the local races because obviously I want to support him. But I'm not involved at all with the team now, so the feeling I get is not the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not really any.
No, as long as you're happy about it, because to be blunt, those questions go one or two ways. It's like, yes, I do miss it. Yes, I wish I was a bit more involved in it. And
Yeah, when I've packed in racing, it took me a few years,
right,
to not so much miss racing because it kind of coincided. Me finishing racing started Christian's race. We started motocrossing that year.
Yes.
So Christian racing, I still had the same feelings of achievement. But it took me a while to feel right myself not racing motorbikes. I wouldn't say I missed it, but I didn't feel like a complete person.
Yeah.
Like a part of you had gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was
living.
Yeah. So, yeah. But we were out of the road race paddock for 15 years, or I was out of the road race paddock for a good 15, 20 years while Christian was motocrossing. Then when we came back, when Christian was supermotoing, a few teams started showing a slight interest in him going road racing. And we went to a meeting at Alton Park, and I'm just like, what the hell are all these big trucks here? The hospitality. And I just thought, all this money's here for paying, to look after people who don't really want to be here.
Would you have been happy if Christian just stuck at Supermoto? Was there a part you always just wanting them to go at shorter?
No.
You right?
No, not
just,
at all. No. That was always his job. Motocross was sort of just in a progression of what we did. Christian was always into two wheels. As a kid, he was always on his push bike, so it was just progression we did.
Mm-hmm.
Then Supermoto was a conscious decision on my part because I thought there was mileage in it, the way it was going and how it was just about to take off. I really did believe that someone with a lot of skills that any schoolboy motocross rider has. The amount of skill that's involved in a schoolboy motocross paddock
is phenomenal. Yeah,
and that was a big shock for me because I've never done motocross, and to watch those young lads when we first went there was just like the hellfire. So to have that grounding and that,
they've got discipline. They've got utter discipline.
To have that discipline.
So you were just saying on the way down when you were young Hayden.
Hayden started 14, and he's won European championships. And you think about what comes out of Europe, and honestly, I cannot rate that kid high enough. But he's got that word, discipline.
Discipline, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a cheeky little fucker, but to me, he's mates.
He's cheeky because he's confident.
No, but
he knows what he can do.
That's it. But it's how his upbringing. He's from Stanley, County Durham, but like you say, that discipline where he just focused at 14. It's phenomenal. But like you're saying, was that when you saw Supermoto?
Yeah, so when I saw Supermoto and the people, because I've always wanted to do Supermoto, even as a racer. They did a few races Supermoto, and they did a big one in America, was it Carlsbad or somewhere like that. And you had Eddie Lawson, Wayne Gardner, then all the top motocrossers. But it's a really big open track. Oh, I'd love to do that. So I've always had a bit of an interest in Supermoto. So I was interested when it started to get going. But you could see it was just by retired old blokes on
motocross bikes.
I just thought a young lad here could just there's an opportunity, and that's what we went for really. And then whilst Christian was still motocrossing before Supermoto, and it was the time we went to. No, we had been to a paddock. We did go to a race. We went to watch a super teen race when he was about 14 or 15. So before he'd started supermotoing. And, Christian watched. I said, what do you reckon then? He went, shit.
Well, it just didn't interest me.
He said,
there was no jumps.
How many BSB races are you won now? Like, this is shit.
Yeah, he said, shit. He said, it's just, no, I'm not interested. So fine. And then.
Okay, yes.
Cheaper,
yeah.
At one point, and I don't know if he was still motocrossing or I think it was when he was still motocrossing, he did say once we'd been somewhere and he said, Dad, do you think should I go road racing or something like this? Or do you think I should go road racing? Or should I go road race or something like that? And I just said, when you know, I said, you'll know the time if you want to go road or something like that. You'll know the time that you'll make the decision when the time's ready. And he goes, don't know what you mean. Because I'd always made the decisions for him, obviously. Yeah. You know, we'll go and do this motocross championship, or we'll do that, we'll buy that bike, or we'll do this or do that. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. I said, when you're ready, that was it. When you're ready to go road racing, you'll go road racing. That was actually what I said.
Yeah.
And he went, I don't know what you mean. I said, when you're ready to go road racing, you'll go road racing. Oh, and that was the end of the conversation. Well, that was probably 5 years before he went road racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you hadn't been as successful as Supermoto, he possibly would have gone road racing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But we were chasing the world championship. We should have won the world championship really at Supermoto.
Should have done.
You know, it was a realistic goal. That's what we were doing. So,
Mike Orton, one of the patrons, actually asked, "What's the best advice that you've ever given to me?" And secondly, did I take note of it?
No, you've got a kid. You should have wrapped it up, son.
Don't answer me back. And he definitely didn't take any notice of it.
What was he like growing up outside of bikes?
Well, it's fine, really.
Yeah, fine.
No, we never, not any problems with Christian. Again, because you've got the discipline of motocross.
Yes.
I think that's sport in general, though, isn't it? I think sport teaches you so much discipline. And
without doubt.
But it's like taking an Xbox off a kid now. It's like you know what I mean? That's their love, their drive. You know, if you want to go riding on the weekend, you know, you're like, oh shit, if I answer back.
Yeah.
You know, like I won't be going riding this weekend. It's that simple, isn't it?
Well, even with the first sort of foray into short circuits, I bought that first CBR 600, and actually that put me straight off it because I didn't have any money, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'd paid my own money to buy this bike, and I remember going to Mallory and thinking, I don't want to crash this because.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it took me that bit of.
It builds respect, doesn't it?
Well, I decided not. Then I decided not at that point, and then came back to it again later on once we'd done a bit more. But nothing was definitely nothing was ever handed to me easily, but I was given every opportunity. Yes. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't going to push him into road racing because, again, I've lost friends, quite a few. You know, I've seen friends killed in front of me, sort of thing. So it's like I'm never ever going to push him into road racing.
No.
The motocross is different. Yeah, you hurt yourself a lot, but you very rarely have the ultimate. Whereas racing motorcycles, whether it's short circuit or road racing, is a different matter.
Yes, yeah.
And you've got to have the drive as well. You've got to have that drive to not let anything
phase you.
You know, knock you off the path you're trying to do. But the grounding you've had in motocross, you've already got that drive anyway. So
yeah,
it's then applying it if you want to.
Might not be a very happy memory, but Timo, who's very well informed, must have been there on the day. Asked Paul about the time he decided to jump on Christian's supermoto bike. It actually says here to help diagnose an issue with Christian's bike, but I think it was after you were just dropping the oil, weren't you? At Swinderby.
Yeah, no.
And the time he came back the next day looking like an Egyptian mummy after.
Yeah. I'd built a fresh engine for that weekend. So two things. I wanted to change the oil after you'd done that first day's practice and racing, I think. And I just wanted to check. I thought I can just check the jetting to feel what it's like because it's a nice long straight. So I thought, right, I'll jump on the bike and just razz it up and down the runway and blah, blah, blah. Shorts and red hot days, shorts and t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. I can
jumped on the bike, fired it up, went to go, and I thought, no, I'm going to put Christian's helmet on, which it doesn't fit. He had this brand new carbon helmet. I thought, I'll put his helmet on then. At least if I fall off, I'm just going to skin myself. 30 seconds later, I was skinned. Yeah.
Imagine this. So the scenario is it's a big. It was Swinderby RAF base, wasn't it? I think it was Swinderby.
Yeah.
So all I could see was my dad setting off on this 650 Husaberg, and you could hear him going through the gears, blah blah blah. And I wasn't really concentrating that much because Mum was making tea and whatever else. But I could just see him in the distance, and then the next moment, you can above the grass between the airfield, I could kind of just see this sort of tumbling. You sort of notice something's gone wrong.
Yes.
And then the hum of the bike, which is now quite far away, had stopped, and I set off running, and just, I don't know, because you must have been, you must have been a kilometre away by this point.
I was like, set off on the runway, and I had it in top gear. We were just flat out in top gear. And on a super motorbike, you're probably doing about 90 mile an hour.
You're hossing on.
Yeah, but I'm just like, and I'm just like playing with the throttle, just thinking, is it a bit rich? Is it a bit just, because I had loads of time, just, then I'm sort of dicking about, and I looked up, and there was a gap. I could see a gap in these straw bales at the end where it turned off onto the off-road. So and then as I got closer, I could then see the blue nylon rope, and it was completely straight. It wasn't bowing down rope or anything. It was completely. I thought, fuck, that's tight. And by this time, it was too late. And I just thought, I'm just going to keep it pinned and break through it. I didn't roll. I thought, I'm not going to stop. So I just kept it pinned, completely pinned. And then I can just remember going light off the bike, and I can't remember anything after that.
Helicoptered out.
Yeah.
You must have gone shorts and a t-shirt. You must have travelled 200-300 metres.
Oh yeah, it was
on tarmac.
But it wasn't. If you see the tarmac, it's like Thruxton. It was like Thruxton. So I'm glad I got my first hit on the ground. I was obviously knocked out, and I couldn't even remember that bit. So I'm pleased, because if I was conscious, knowing I was in a shorts and t-shirt doing that, then so I sort of came to thinking, okay,
racing in 10 minutes. Better get the bike out.
No, like, Jesus Christ. So, and Leighton Haig had come up on the bike, and he just took one look at me and spun it round, and I'm thinking, I need some help here, Leighton. And he's fucked up, I'm thinking. And it seemed to take ages for anyone to get to me.
He just knew.
Well, I didn't, yeah. I was and then all of a sudden people arrived, and then ambulances arrived, then police arrived, and I could see the helicopter coming, and I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell. So I thought I mustn't have anything left in my back. Charlie arrived, he got there. Oh my God, look at the state of his back. Charlie was about 8 or 9, wasn't he?
Yeah, my brother.
Dad, did you know you left the kettle on?
Shut up, man.
I actually started to boil a kettle, and I left it on the stove. But honestly, didn't he? Came out, did you know you'd left the kettle on?
My brother's like quite straight with the it's just funny.
I like it. But
you came back the next day, didn't you? I just remember him turning up the next day, because I was racing that day on the Sunday, and you were literally like a mummy. You were bandaged from head to toe.
Yeah.
And for weeks, the screams that used to come out of
it wasn't that nice.
When the travelling nurse had come here to home to
take the bandages off.
But in a way, I guess, because I remember you weren't actually that skinned. You were like cauterized. It had gone.
Yeah, I didn't bleed because everything was black. I did all down my back, all down the shoulders, arms, elbow, arse, but I didn't bleed. And it looked black, and I thought it was all sort of tarmac, gone in. They said basically to Christian's mum, here's some soap, here's a scrubbing brush, go in the shower and scrub what you can out, because we're going to be doing more than that tomorrow or later on. And I fucking screamed. I effed and black. You can't believe the language that came out of me in that shower. Fucking was painful, and the doctor would come in and he'd be like, "Everything all right? Oh yeah, fine.
Yeah, great." But hey, to everyone out, I tell you what, I've done that. I've just stuck a lid on with a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and I'm never doing that again.
No.
The worst thing is the helmet wasn't going to go on, and the helmet had a crack right down the middle of it, and it's just, you're so fortunate that day.
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here.
No.
You wouldn't be here. It's that simple.
Having to put that on, it would have been different matter. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love how honest you are. This is the crack.
Not the cleverest thing I've done.
But my final question, it's from the patrons on this side of things, from Mike Orton. And what's the best advice you gave to...
That one.
Oh, you have, haven't you? Sorry, son.
Pick another one, because they've all been very good to be
fair. They have been very good. My God, but I feel like we've actually naturally gone through them on that side. Yeah, so obviously Timo, thank you so much. Dale, Shirley, aka Cyril, Jess, double questioning, Jake and Mike Orton, absolutely brilliant. And more, hold on, we've got more. Andy, Connor, Hayden, Gary Proctor and Andy Smiles. Obviously, thank you so much to all our patrons, but I think we're going to have to call that time on that side of things, so we're going to get you home.
Considering I said my dad doesn't really talk.
I know, yeah, like before, and he goes, how long have we got to talk for? I said 40 minutes, and he went, oh God, I'm going to talk for 40 minutes. minutes.
It's well past toast o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just build grace for it. Yeah, for your toast o'clock on that side of things. But obviously, hey, thank you so much for this. I've really enjoyed it. And more importantly, how did you feel this went? I
feel like I've not said much because I've sat here and listened. To be fair, it's all been quite new to me. It's been quite interesting. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, very good. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. And obviously, this show has been brought to you by OMG Racing, Lucky Day Competition, and JC Truck and Trailer Hire.
Yeah, and as well as that, right, don't forget that there are remaining calendars that I think are going on a bit of a sale. There's not many left, but we just want to get... There's 30% off. That is a big sale. Off. And we've not done 30% of the year, so actually you're getting a great deal.
Yeah, safe.
Alan Carter books, new caps.
Yes, sporting. I've got one colour, you've got another colour.
Well, I thought they were the same colour because I'm colour deficient, which we spoke about before. But anyway, oh yeah, and the big news. I'll let you do the big news.
Oh no, I'm not doing the big news.
I mean, it's already out there.
I feel the news is already out there. Well, yeah, Josh. So yeah, let's talk about it. So CTR Racing Team. Yeah, obviously, Josh is partnered up with Tall Tim. It's obviously off air. We were talking about a different Tim Oliver, and you were just laying into him. But we found out. So it was
thankfully it was a different one.
It was a different Tim Oliver. So Tim, if you listen to this, Paul hasn't got a problem with you.
He thought he did.
He thought he did.
Thankfully, you didn't do what you thought you did.
Exactly. Yeah, thank God for that. Anyway, there's a bit of a side subject for another time. But obviously, Josh has teamed up with Matt Postlethwaite and Tall Tim, and obviously Penny and Piggy's getting involved to help out on that side. But Josh has decided with Grace and everyone here at CTR that it's going to be called CTR Racing, which are competing in the F900 Cup. So proper privateer team, their own budget, everything on that side of things. So as we were discussing in this episode, it's a bit like proper racing. Yeah.
That all sounds very good, yeah.
They're getting in a van, got the trailer on the back, they're going to go racing, obviously at the British calendar, which is absolutely fantastic. And Josh, while he's not here, he's going to dish out some portions. He's a radgy little... he used to knock people off. He's as keen as you, Paul.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the elbows will be out.
He was over at mine yesterday, and he's looking forward to the season ahead. Obviously, he's doing loads of training, he's got his cycling thing going on, and he's got... high aspirations for this year.
This year. This is going to be good.
It should be good.
This should be good.
And it should also, for all our Patreons, I think there's going to be a few more opportunities to be involved and be around the team and that sort of thing. So there should be a few more really cool things with the Patreons to come and sort of spend a bit of time with Josh and around the team, which should be super cool.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Right.
And the episode sponsor again.
Yeah, it was just, there you go for it. Do you want to read this one?
It was brought to you by Mongrel Boots, which, as we said, are an Australian manufacturer of work boots and dealer boots. They're a 5th generation family owned company making boots in Australia since 1930. Worn on farms and building sites down under for almost a century. So Mongrel Boots know all about hard work, and these Aussie boots are now available in the UK. I'm going to go check them out. So find them online in selected retailers and head to mongrelboots.co.uk or Big Boots. And I had to read that properly. bigboots.co.uk, because that could get you in trouble for more information.
I'll tell you what, though, if they're making boots that can withstand crocodile bites, shark bites, anything that can kill you is in that country. Yeah. So if you can make boots that can walk across that plane, fair play. You know what I mean?
Then you're fine in Bladen.
Exactly. Obviously, yet again, lads, thank you, Christian. Thank you, more importantly, Paul. Thank you. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Awesome. We'll catch you all next time, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers.